What is going on, everybody? It is episode 382 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. We have a full house once again directly in front of me. Introduce yourself, sir.
Hey everybody, my name is Aiden Mattis. I am the host of the Lore Lodge right here on YouTube, and that's about all I am.
And you're here hanging out with us.
Yeah, I'm here all week. I am the replacement Mary.
Somebody said Mary's got big feet in the chat the other day. I was like, oh boy.
I am identifying as Mary.
There is no Mary. There are no Mary wiki feet as far as I know. So let's keep it that way. To my left, introduce yourself, sir. That's you.
Oh, yeah. How you doing? I'm Phil Labonte, lead singer of All That Remains, anti-communist and counter-revolutionary.
I changed up the order here. IRL does it all in one clean order every time I change it up. To my right, my friend, introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. Dane Font here, marketing man extraordinaire and the patron saint of White Boy Summer.
That you are. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great.
I actually saw you before the show today. I don't always get a chance to see you on days like this because you're working downstairs and I'm working upstairs.
How did it feel?
It was fantastic, buddy.
Yep.
Yeah. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. So this is a recurring topic that I thought we might as well cover because I don't think we ended up talking about it before. But there has been this recurring rumor that Mel Gibson is going to make a documentary on a very spicy topic that involves trafficking and people that are not adults, basically, would be the way to describe it. Would that sound fair to you? Sound fair to you?
Sort of fair.
So,
We're not far enough into the show to say the actual words yet is the problem.
Yeah. So we're going to be talking
YouTube's
about...
algorithm.
I have questions because I think the idea that this is a topic that keeps persisting, no matter how many times these things come up and people say, I don't know, I think it's fake news. I think it says something about the culture that people want to see something like this get made because they keep bringing it up. So we're going to talk about that. They're saying it would be involving that. It would involve what's going on in Ukraine as well as Epstein. So we will discuss it. We're going to talk about J.K. Rowling, who was almost defamed again by the Oxfam charity, which pulled down a cartoon which bared what somebody called a striking resemblance to J.K. Rowling, while it said TERF on the person's pin. But J.K. Rowling is a very litigious person, so I think they probably did the right thing by taking this down. We're going to discuss that, and we are also going to talk about James Woods, who tweeted to someone, and I thought this was interesting because I wanted to get everyone here's perspective, because we've had a lot of talks recently about whether it was about God, whether it was a talk about heaven, whether it was a talk about all these things. He talks about how, however evil you think Hollywood is, it's 100 times more evil than that. And I would like to get some varying perspectives on what that means to you guys. What does evil mean in that context? Because I think yesterday we kind of came to the understanding that when we were talking about heaven, that could mean different things for different people. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about that. And we are also going to talk about the branded content controversy going on Twitch. A lot of people had a lot to say. Aiden has a lot to say. Yeah. Phil has a lot to say. We're gonna talk about it. Yes?
I'll talk.
He's got stuff to say.
So I have thoughts.
Yeah, I saw you tweeting about it yesterday.
Yeah.
So we're going to get into that. And Dane is the marketing man extraordinaire, so he knows all about branded content.
Every single thing.
All of it.
He teaches a course on it. All right. If you guys are ready, we will get right into the beginning of the show. Phil, you ready?
Let's go.
Aiden.
I'm good to go.
Dane.
Yes.
Let's do this. All right. To start, we have unfortunately, some very sad news to start. The Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 81. Not cool. A very big part of a lot of people's childhoods. Hulk Hogan, and him in the 80s. Like when you think about Americana,
not only in the 80s, it's like they had the feud going for decades after.
And you think about Americana, and like one of the oldest tropes that ever survived in wrestling was the trope of the evil foreigner. It's a legitimate theme in wrestling. Think Nation of Domination with The Rock, or like all the and they play basically like a weird BLM-esque group of people that did this. I kid you not. Yeah. Oh yeah. Nation of Domination would do this in the ring.
I have to admit my knowledge of the WWE is rather
sparse.
limited.
Yeah.
I know very few things. I know John Stossel got punched in the face for suggesting it was fake.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's about it.
We got a $20 super chat here from Peter Leo. He says, as your local neighborhood right-wing homosexual, I felt like I just needed to let you know Brett is actually pretty good looking. Well, hey, man, if people want to super chat that, I will take it, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Actually, I shared this yesterday that because when I did IRL on Monday, the lights in IRL in the IRL studio kind of gave me a headache, so I had to take my glasses off in there. and I didn't have a hat on, and somebody sent me a meme. It was a picture of Clark Kent and Superman. It says bread on PCC, and it's Clark Kent with the glasses on, and then it's bread on IRL, and it's Superman. So I will take that comparison if anybody wants to make that comparison. And thank you, Peter Leo. But also remember, guys, like this video, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. And remember, yes, all Super Chats, $20 and over, we will interrupt the discussion. I will read them right then and there. Aiden will read the Super Chats, otherwise through the segments as we go. And after I read the $20 Super Chat, I will do my very best to get right back on topic, which I think I've actually been doing a fairly good job.
I would agree. I think you've been doing great.
I caught one yesterday where I almost lost it. Phil says no.
I'm just talking smack.
Phil says no. That's just rude.
I think I might have to adopt the $20 Super Chat thing for my show, too.
No, we stole that from whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, I think theirs is 50.
That seems... Okay, well, that's just exorbitant.
Yeah. That's, it was before Mary even went on there. Like, she'd mentioned that they did that, and I was like, that's a really good idea. Yeah. All right, but we try to get back on topic because I don't want it to derail the discussion too much. So, just guys, if you got Super Chats like that, send them on in. But yeah, the Iron Sheik passed away at the age of 81, and he was kind of a legend. I got put in the Cobra Clutch more than a few times by my brother, and yes, it hurts that when they do it. It's not pleasant, not good. You're
probably
like,
also weren't quite doing it right.
Probably, yeah, probably not.
I'm guessing those moves don't quite hurt that much.
No, that's
for the pros.
Your back
wrong.
is not supposed to bend that way.
That is wrong.
Oh, okay.
That stuff hurts.
Yeah.
And it hurts bad.
Did you watch Iron Sheik growing up?
Oh yeah. Iron Sheik and I mean, it was like Hacksaw Jim Duggan was in when I was a kid, and the Hulkster, the Ultimate Warrior, Demolition,
Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Superfly, yeah,
good times.
Steamboat, Ricky Steamboat was. Gosh. This was like when the Rockers were going, when Marty Jannetty and his name slips from my mind. He's one of the biggest superstars ever. The
Shawn
sexy
Michaels.
boy, Shawn Michaels. Yeah. Before Shawn Michaels really became Shawn Michaels that everybody remembers from the '90s and stuff, it was when the Rockers got started and
kick him through the window.
Yeah,
He had the best intro, Shawn Michaels.
Yeah, sexy boy.
That's like I want that song to play anytime I walk into a room. That's what I want.
Seriously.
All right, guys. A little bit of an update on Bam Margera from yesterday. Lamar Odom has visited Bam Margera at his hospital stay and said that wants him to come to his rehab facility because Lamar Odom opened 3 rehabilitation facilities this year. Yeah, so that's a very good thing for him to reach out and do that, given that Lamar Odom has his own, turbulent history with substance abuse, and he's come out the other side. So if you're looking for good publicity and to help another person out, that's about as good of a thing as you can hope for. But he's trying to get probably good publicity for the clinic, but it's also doing something good for somebody who's clearly struggling right now. Also, guys, I'm going to rant for just a quick second because nobody else saw this movie but me, but The Mother is apparently one of Netflix's best performing movies of all time, to which I say, what? Like, even me who is known here as the softie who gives all the movies a better grade than everybody else.
It's true.
Hated this movie so much. It was so simple, it was so stupid, and it was so bland. It was just the most black and white, gray themed movie. There was no joy. There wasn't an ounce of joy in the filmmaking. There wasn't an ounce of joy in the script. There wasn't an ounce of joy in any of it. And it's somehow in the top 10 of Netflix movies ever made.
I also do notice that if you look at the list of most popular films on Netflix, this is not a super strong showing of cinema.
I mean, but I think those are of their originals.
It says most popular films based on hours viewed in their first 28 days on Netflix. But yeah, I mean, if you look at
I guess Bird Box wasn't a Netflix.
Yeah, Bird Box I think was Netflix, wasn't it?
Was it the original Bird Box?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Quiet Place. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is Bird Box was just a quiet place, but they changed the sense.
Yeah. Now
Glass Onion, Knives Out Mystery is just Agatha Christie redrawn by Rian Johnson.
I liked the second.
I didn't see the second one.
Second one was good. I liked Glass Onion. I thought it was fine.
I've been meaning to watch it.
Batista as playing like a men's rights activist is really funny because it really plays into him being this big, jacked, tatted dude. Yeah. Like you buy him doing that. So I enjoyed that. The Adam Project was surprisingly sweet
that was good.
and good. I enjoyed the Adam Project. The Gray Man was fine. I like most of the things. Like if it's a spy thriller, even an average one, I'm gonna watch and be like, well, it was fine, even if it's not all that great. But the rest of them,
I enjoyed Extraction a lot.
And the second one's coming out the next week, I believe. So
yeah, I thought that was a good, just solid action movie.
Yeah, like if you've got the time, like if you got a couple hours to kill and you're looking for like a fun action movie to watch on a Saturday night and you don't want to go to a theater, Extraction is a fantastic one to go check out. It also leans into Chris Hemsworth. He fits the role because he's built like an action star.
Oh, that's the one with Ryan Gosling?
No, that was The Gray Man. That was the Gray Man was meh. That's the one where basically Chris Evans plays like a weird type of like Ace Ventura-ish bad guy. Like he's definitely like he's got the mustache, but he's got these wacky mannerisms, and it just doesn't really work. But like to me, it was like it's fine.
The fact that he's such a softie on Twitter like broke immersion with that movie 100%. I was like,
yeah, it's hard to buy. I mean, it's hard to buy him as Captain America after you see him on Twitter too, because he's not a very nice person.
I don't pay any attention to his outside of the movie.
In fairness, it is the current state of America.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
But yeah, I liked the Adam Project. I liked Extraction, but I'm going to tell you, nobody should be watching The Mother. It's extremely bland and boring, and it fails in the way that Extraction succeeds, meaning that I don't buy Jennifer Lopez in any of the action scenes. I buy her as angry.
Yeah, weird choice for an action movie. Yeah. Jennifer Lopez, like, because there are women who have done phenomenal jobs.
Gina Carano could have done it.
Gina Carano, Sigourney Weaver is probably a little too old for it now, but like you look at some of the women who have done action movies, and they've killed it, and you chose a pop star?
Kristana Loken could have done it still, probably, though she's getting a little bit older. The lady.
Well, J-Lo is also what, 50 something?
Yeah. She just looks, the whole movie, she just looks mad. Like Ben Affleck just said something that pissed her off, and she's got this cold face. Like,
what's the general plot?
So like basically, her daughter is under threat from rival like a cartel. And she has to like abandon her daughter to keep her safe, but then they find out the daughter exists, and then she has to go. It's very stupid.
That's a 20, Brett.
Yes.
Like
thank you.
Weird mix of Sicario and a few other things.
Yeah. Well, it ain't no Sicario.
Well, no, Sicario is one of the greatest movies of the 21st century.
Call Me Snow Possum says, I want Cold Stone Steve Austin's theme music every time I walk into a room, and also why can't Frank Reagan be my dad? Cold Stone Steve Austin is the ice cream version of Stone Cold Stone Austin, I'm guessing.
Cold Stone.
I got nothing bad to say about ice cream.
Yeah,
you know?
But also Stone Cold Steve Austin has an underrated theme with Disturbed, where Disturbed did an underrated version of Stone Cold's theme that's actually really, really good. It doesn't get the credit it deserves. That's the one that should play when you come into a room. And also, yes, Frank Reagan could still be your dad, possibly, because Tom Selleck seems to be immortal. He's going to live forever. That mustache is going to keep him alive forever.
That might be true.
He's got to be in his 70s by now. But yeah, like that mustache will keep him young for a very long time. I also love that, like in that show, that show manages to still exist. He's talking about Blue Bloods. And Blue Bloods is like, that's the family's name is the Reagans, which is a very clearly a callback to Ronald Reagan. And it's a family of police officers. And it's unapologetically like what I would call Hollywood conservative, meaning like, they're liberal, but they're just like a 90s liberal, basically. Like he has a scene because they go to church every Sunday, but he has a scene where he argues with one of the nuns about like why have you guys stayed. Why do you guys keep going about gay marriage? Like, why do you guys have a problem with that? It's like he's a Hollywood conservative. Like he's not really a conservative, but they portray them as such. So and also if you want a show that actually, at least in the early seasons, because I fell off after season 6, a show that does a very good job of showing you some pretty topical stuff in regards to police brutality, race relations between cops and police, urban policing, and does a very good job of presenting you both sides of the argument as close to unbiased as possible. It's actually a really interesting show to check out, because what they do is a lot of times, every episode features a dinner between the family members. And a lot of times different family members will take different perspectives on it. But since they're all main characters, they resist the urge to make one of them inherently wrong, because then you're making a character that's a regular on the show look bad, even though they're part of the main family. So they portray the arguments as reasonable from both perspectives, which is just not something you see on television much anymore at all. No. So it's worth checking out. Okay, guys, so let us move on. So yes, The Mother, don't go watch it. And then here, this is a very interesting thing. The movie Rebel Moon, which is going to be the new movie from Zack Snyder, it's going to have 2 cuts. A cut for parents or for adults, and a cut for like the whole family. which is kind of like we are kind of entering choose your own adventure territory.
I like some of the Twitter comments, which were like, the man simply can't make one version of a movie.
He can't.
He's incapable.
He can't do it. He's like he's in every scene has to start with a guy walking in 120 frames a second.
This is very curious. And on the marketing perspective, I find it kind of fascinating. But something that I need to do we know what ultimately it will be rated?
Well, it's Netflix, so it wouldn't get like it wouldn't get a regular rating anyways. But like my guess is like if you pick the movie, like when you pick a movie on Netflix and then you get like a sub menu where you can choose your language and all this stuff. Likely it'll say like cut for family, like family cut, adult cut, something like that.
Is that what it's gonna do?
Probably something like that.
I do think people also, like you said, we're approaching Choose Your Own Adventure. Are we forgetting that Black Mirror had a Choose Your Own Adventure film on Netflix like 6 years ago?
Yeah.
No, I don't remember that.
And,
I can't remember for the life of me what it was called, but the guy who plays Adam Warlock in the new Marvel movie, he's like a main character in it, and basically there was a correct sequence of choices to make. It was basically giving you the idea that you had the ability to choose your own adventure, but there were certain choices where the main character would die and the show would end. So you had to go back and rewatch and make the correct choices, and you got new content each time until you eventually made all
indulgence of something like that.
Yeah,
like
until well, that was the thing is, it made a whole event out of me and my friends picking a movie for the night because we're sitting there and we had to rewatch half the movie like over and over again.
What's it like? Also, other shows. I believe CSI and
Bandersnatch.
There you go.
Excuse me?
It was called Bandersnatch.
That's the name of
Will Poulter is the actor.
Yeah.
The Will Poulter always looks like a weird version of Cameron Monaghan, the guy who plays
Moynihan.
you know what I'm talking about?
No.
He plays he's the Jedi in the Star Wars games. He played the Joker on the show Gotham.
Are you talking about
Cameron
in the new games?
Yeah, but he's
the guy who plays Cal
kid.
Kestis.
And then but he played the Joker on the television show Gotham. And they don't call him the Joker, but he's the Joker.
There's so many episodes of Black Mirror that have stayed with me forever.
Yeah,
that was a really good show, and then it just I think it's coming back, but it just disappeared.
No, I thought the director he canceled it because he was tired of constantly predicting and having manifest a disgusting world.
Yeah. So it's like the Babylon Bee.
It got a lot of things
get it right all the time.
Right, unfortunately.
The another thing, like one of the CSIs, and then I believe like some other crime procedural did a thing where like you could vote on who you thought the bad guy should be, and then whoever won the vote on the live viewing was the ending they would air. So like that's approaching choose your own adventure territory as well, where you're like, I don't like that character. We're going to pick this one where this guy's the bad guy. All right. I do want to talk a little bit very quickly. I won't spend a lot of time on this, on The Little Mermaid and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and why Hollywood and the Hollywood press is wrong to blame racism for The Little Mermaid bombing in China. So right now, they're blaming racist backlash for The Little Mermaid getting what they call doused in China and South Korea, and they're saying, well, it's because they did a racism there in those countries. But the problem is
doing a racism.
They did a racism, but the problem is Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse stars an Latino character.
So they did a misogyny, is what they did.
Yes, this time they did a misogyny. There's always that's the progressive stack, right? There's always something.
Well, there's
it's
intersectional. It's probably a racist misogyny.
So the Little Mermaid in China made $3.6 million in 10 days, which is really, really bad. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse made $17.2 million in just its first weekend, and it's the strongest international market that movie has.
Now that's more.
Yes,
right.
That is a 17.2 is more than 3.6.
Good.
Yes,
perfect. Before jumping to it just possibly being, I haven't seen it, but I've heard it was.
Yeah,
I've heard mixed reviews, and I don't really trust anybody at this point. But there's also I think they might be missing the fact that this is like a story that Europeans are very familiar with, Europeans and Americans, via our ancestry. Hans Christian Andersen, I mean, is a household name for European Americans and Europeans. Yep. The Little Mermaid is Hans Christian Andersen. We're accustomed to it. We're ready for it. In China, when The Little Mermaid came out, I don't think they were allowed to see American movies.
Yeah.
And they don't have the tradition of Hans Christian Andersen in their homes. So I think there's also a possibility that like this one just didn't do well because they didn't care.
They probably just wanted to eat it.
Yeah, like
You know?
Oh no! Wait, I should not have agreed so readily.
Oh man! But here's the other thing: like Fast and the Furious 10 did well in China, and that has an extremely diverse cast. It has nothing to do with racism there.
There are certain times though, like the Star Wars posters where they 100%
That's the marketing
did minimum.
department.
Yeah, I know.
Though. That's the there's the Star Wars poster, but then we did that same controversy came up with the Little Mermaid where they got blamed for that, and then it turned out that there was it was just an IMAX poster that released both here and in China, right?
Yeah.
So, but they're very quick to blame it, to blame a movie bombing on something like that. But what they fail to realize is it's much simpler than that. Tell new stories that people don't have something to compare it to, where it feels like something's being taken from them, and people will more readily flock to it. And that's not even a one-to-one comparison here, because Miles Morales is kind of the unique character that has been what people would call tokenized, as in like he's not Peter Parker, but people still gravitate towards Miles Morales and really like him, even though that's the exception and not the rule.
Is he a different kind of character than Peter, or is he still the kind of a little nerdy kind of?
I would characterize him as different. I saw Into the Spider-Verse. I haven't seen Across the Spider-Verse yet. He's not the same thing as especially not the same thing as the Peter Parker that has been portrayed on screen. So, but that's the thing. Like, people will flock to stuff if it's good, but Hollywood just doesn't know how to make good stuff. Or at least they don't try hard enough to just make new things, which would get them more leeway.
And if you're gonna make a remake,
this is something that we see. I think that we see in video games and in a lot of places in creative, creative endeavors. People are not really putting the effort in to make new, creative, interesting stuff. I feel like there's a lot of people that are just like phoning it in, and I think a lot of it has to do with work ethic of younger people that are creators and stuff like that nowadays.
They don't mean like at the Hollywood production level.
And not just at the Hollywood production level, but I think that writers, people that would be 30, that could be writing for this kind of stuff. People that are working in video games and stuff like that. You see it a lot. You see video games coming out incomplete. The first 6 months is kind of like a beta. They have all kinds of patches. They're not releasing completed games with a lot of content anymore. And I think that has something to do with work ethic. And you see that attitude with people that
incredible.
are like, what was that?
Sorry.
I asked him how Street Fighter was going.
Incredible. It's the best.
So you think it's a work ethic thing?
I don't know that I think that, but I think that it's worth exploring that idea, because there's a lot of people. You see these TikToks of people that are like, oh, look at what I do at my high technology job, whatever it may be.
I eat and I
exactly. And you and if that is the culture that you're in, right? The high tech industries and stuff like that. If that's the culture that you're in, then there's not really a whole lot of motivation to be like, go get the job done because you want it to be awesome. The whole attitude of that whole thing is kind of like the quiet quitting. I'm not going to do extra for this big company. If I'm working for a company that's owned by Microsoft or that's owned by Xbox or whatever, it's like there's not a lot of.
I think there's a lot of validity in what you're saying, but also I think something that's attributing to the phenomenon of everything being a remake is that digital marketing is an incredible phenomenon for marketing, because in the past, marketing would only be measured by sales, physical presence, and conjecture. And honestly, mostly conjecture. But now, especially in newspapers, because you would buy the front cover, you could assure that it would be seen. Mm-hmm. But if you're on page 17, you're really betting on an educated basis that's reading the newspaper thoroughly from top to bottom,
which is not how it usually goes.
Not usually, and not how you're taught traditionally to understand your consumer and marketing. But I think a lot of what's happening is, given to digital marketing, now we have statistics for literally everything. Yeah. We have statistics for views, vanity metrics, which are likes, shares, follows, hearts, whatever. And I think that is both a gift and a curse, because we have people digitizing old media like Batman, Star Wars, and whatever. And now they can objectively see, so it got this many views on release, it got this many views after a week, it got this much money. And so the finance guys in collaboration with the marketing guys is like, this is the direction that we're going. never taking into consideration that, you know, you can say that Batman sells, or you can say that a cleverly written protagonist with like a detective twist sells. You know what I mean? And so that's what I think is happening a lot with, I think, movies more so than video games, because in video games I feel like people are begging for the remakes, whereas in
it does feel that way, doesn't it?
Yeah,
like,
whereas
people are very excited about the remakes whenever we get a new, whether it's Final Fantasy, whether it's Resident Evil,
Knights of the Old Republic.
I would say that a lot of it actually has to do with, to me, I believe that the people who make these remakes, they only seek legitimacy in characters that already exist. And to what you were saying about whether it's laziness, I think that's because the people that are working at these corporations don't have the same approach to the creative endeavors that somebody who's making their own content does. So somebody who's created his own, think of Five Nights at Freddy's. Like there was more of a hunger, or like any of these properties where it's something that eventually gets bought out by a larger property. There's more of a hunger in the production process early on because that's your baby. You want it to come out exactly the way you want to. But once you start having a soulless corporation putting it to market, then you can only expect so much motivation from a jumble of people with different motives. Also, I think that there's a lack of faith in stuff that is new IP. So like you say, Batman or Detective Story, I would say Spider-Man is proving pretty consistently now to be the greatest comic book character of all time. I would say him and Batman are the ones that have the most
neck and neck,
the most ability to draw in audiences. But the Batman didn't break box office numbers, but Spider-Man No Way Home did.
But I want to build on that. Because something that Batman and Spider-Man both have is that they're deeply imperfect characters. Batman loses everything he loves constantly. And he's a broken man trying to unbreak the world, right? And Peter Parker, in his real life, he's a loser. Like, he's always broke, you know. He depends on his poor old aunt, and like he never...
His hot aunt, you mean? In the
yeah.
ones.
Well, in the new ones.
Yes.
And he can never catch a break professionally. But now in the culture, in the cultural zeitgeist, everyone is this perfect cultural warrior that has the correct opinions about everything. So there really isn't this character that's fighting an internal battle. And if he's fighting an internal battle, it's because of something outside of his control, according to progressives, is that he is white, therefore he is racist, thus that is his battle. So essentially every character is the same. So even if we didn't have a remake, everything would be a remake because every single person would have the same moral quality.
I think there's a lot to that. Every character is the same. That you do not, if you are not allowed to talk about personality traits that are objectionable, then you're not really able to create a rich character that is interesting, that might have motivations for these bad things that make them compelling. Like, you can take a good guy and make them have bad traits, and that will make
Tony
them
Stark.
more interesting. Yeah, it's exactly. Tony Stark's an alcoholic. You know, that kind of stuff. I think you're totally right. I think that the every character kind of is the same thing because the creators nowadays are so afraid to put bad traits or flaws or humanity. Really, humanity.
It's literally what what somebody's talking about. Like, anytime you see like if they have a character that's a person of color, they're afraid to give them any type of negative trait because they don't want to be called racist. So they're going to be perfect, but the problem is perfect is boring. Right. Perfect isn't that interesting. Storytelling is not so linear and simple that you just say good guy good, bad guy bad. Yeah. The best characters have a little bit of both.
Complexity,
Well, they've completely watered down one of the main attributes that and we see this. There's so many hero movies now. Even movies that aren't about superheroes are often about somebody doing something heroic. We've completely lost the part of the hero's journey where he's supposed to have a fatal flaw. Yeah. Like the fatal flaw is something like, oh well, he's an alcoholic. Oh well, you know, he was asleep in ice for 80 years and doesn't know about modern stuff. Like,
I'll put it on the list.
We start looking at, you know, these lack of rounded characters, these two-dimensional characters who we're supposed to look at and accept and see as role models, but they're unrealistic.
Right.
We need a character, we need a hero that does have a problem. You know, a hero who is maybe he is like misogynist or something.
I told you,
and this
watching,
causes him to not trust a female character, and that causes him to lose something. Like we need that in there.
I'm watching Veronica Mars, and every character of every race is casually just bad to other people all the time, and it's very interesting because like you look at that and you're like, I would never say that to another person in the real world, but everybody sort of has their flaws, and they're not all just the same good person all the time.
If you are creating a character, and I think that there's a lot of people that create characters now that really interject themselves into
it's all self-inserts.
So why would you ever admit to having the flaws that are socially taboo now? If you're inserting yourself, you could never conceptualize yourself as having that flaw if you're inserting yourself. I think there's a lot to that kind of, or this idea that we're bouncing off of each other.
There's a narcissism to it that every writer is like, my character needs to be an idealized version of me, and it doesn't.
Yep. Because every character is, let's say I'm directing a movie, it's Dane Font's version of modernity.
Yeah.
And I pointed this out because I want you to realize that, look, Across the Spider-Verse is tracking, it's making way more than the original made. So also it's a weird argument for America because both The Little Mermaid and Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse are doing great here in America, but I thought America was this racist hellhole. So which is it? Is it the rest of the world doesn't like these movies for this reason, like you're making in this article, or is it that America doesn't like it for this reason, like you're going to write in another article? Keep your insults for me in this country in line, and at least have some consistency with your argument, because it doesn't make any sense. What it proves is they want original stories with characters they actually like. This is a new story. This is a character people like. Nobody wanted what you did to The Little Mermaid to be done, and when you said that they couldn't object because if they did, they were a bad person, you guarantee that people are just going to push back on you. And what I find the most objectionable is the lack of intellectual honesty in the argument. If you want to say people don't like it for this reason, and then you say that you don't like the reasons people aren't liking it, if you want to say that because holding a candle or holding some type of candle for the original is stupid, fine. I think you're wrong, but at least it's a rational, realistic argument that people are actually making. What you're doing is you're taking every single person who has a problem with these things and you're turning them into some type of bland, one-note caricature of what you think they are, and it proves that you don't understand the average everyday moviegoer.
If people don't want to admit to flaws and stuff like that, I can't imagine how they could create a character that has flaws.
Yep. I mean, just to add something in this, it just occurred to me. This is starting in the education system, by the way. I took some courses on screenwriting in college, and I'm not going to go and pretend that Penn State University is like the mecca of film or screenwriting programs.
Doesn't matter.
It's not. But what I was told, I was writing a historical drama that took place in Wales in the early 1400s. And I was told that it wasn't that my character's dialogue was stilted. It wasn't that there wasn't enough backstory or the exposition went on too long. There were criticisms in there. Like, I was taking a class for a reason. I wasn't perfect. But I was told that if I wanted it to sell, I had to write in a black character, or I had to make one of the main characters have a gay relationship. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is a course I'm taking for my minor. My major was medieval studies. Yeah. I was pretty confident that there probably weren't a lot of what we would call today minority characters in Wales in the year 1400 participating in a rebellion against the English.
Sure thing, bigot.
And that's what it was. I was like, as the author of this story, authenticity is important to me.
They made Anne Boleyn black. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and they're saying that but that's what I'm saying is they're saying authenticity doesn't sell. You've got to write what the studios want you to write.
They're right. The sad thing is they're right.
So, I know they are, but that's where I draw the lines. I'm like, all right, well, if you're a writer, and I got some flack for this about the writer's strike comment I made yesterday, but if you're a writer and you have a story that nobody will buy, you need to put it online in some form or another.
Sorry, minor pushback. Authenticity sells. Authenticity doesn't get funded.
Yeah. Yes, true.
That's
good point. Good point.
Yep. All right. Let us move on, ladies and gentlemen. Again, before we get started on the full show today, like this video, subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. What would you guys like first, cute or cringe?
Cringe.
Cringe.
Oh, God.
All right, we'll do cringe first. It's not a video, so actually no.
Cringy.
Dane, this is cringe because Dane called me out yesterday on Twitter, and frankly, I'm a little bit
She's so
upset.
hot.
Dane, because back like 2 million years ago, long before the dinosaurs roamed the earth, I said Brie Larson wasn't attractive, and then I since retracted my statement, and said, fine, she is attractive, but Dane still felt the need to call me out on Twitter, and frankly, I'm a bit offended. It's a little offensive.
Listen, your take was cringe.
I gotta side with Dane here.
Okay.
Thank you.
I mean, technically my take, but it was an old take, though. So what's more cringe, the fact that I had that take originally, or the fact that you had to drudge up something I have since apologized and changed my mind on?
Yeah, Dane, what are you, some kind of liberal?
Listen,
This is a bit sus, as they say.
I was elevating misogyny discourse on Twitter, so I don't know what you're
Elevating
talking about.
misogyny discourse?
Yeah.
Like a
As
true
one
bro.
does. As one does.
Like a true bro.
As one does. But yeah, so, I changed my tune. Also, I liked her in Fast 10. I thought she was fine. I mean, she's not overbearing in that movie. So
Did she go fast?
She went kind of fast. She looks ridiculous holding a gun.
I mean, she's displayed Furious quite well before.
Yes, she's. I don't know how fast she is. I can't comment on that.
I'm wondering.
Furious, definitely.
At what point did you think that Brie Larson was not attractive? Because I think the first time I ever saw her was in 21 Jump Street, and she was attractive in that.
It was
10 years ago.
It was literally just a pushback reaction because when he brought it up, we were talking about something stupid she said. So my inherent reaction is to say no because she's annoying.
My whole argument is that you have to separate the art from the artist. You know what I mean?
You're right.
And facts, sometimes beautiful women say stupid things.
Somebody said, Brett, zoom in. I can do that.
Dare I say?
Would you? Oh my God. Have some decorum.
Wasn't my. Somebody asked. Somebody asked. I provide. Somebody asked. I provide.
We are men, not heathens.
I mean,
Speak for yourself.
that's up
Speak for
for
yourself.
debate. That's up
Base.
for debate.
Base.
I changed my tune. I changed my tune, so I'm no longer cringe.
She's pretty, but she's not. She's not remarkably.
We're
pretty.
having the she's pretty but she's not hot debate from The Office right now. You
It's
realize
not-
that, right?
No, it's not
I love
even
my
hot
job.
because like
I love my
like
job.
there's a lot there
Collaborate.
is context that goes along with hot that can be dirty, that can be offensive, that can be adult themed and stuff like that. It's not even about being hot. She's just pretty, but the obnoxious just really just sets it off for me.
Yeah.
Who in the?
Also, somebody says she's not smiling, she's cringing because the cross is burning her.
I do find it a little like I don't know how I feel about the cross.
Somebody
being
says
worn.
she's a 7.5, maybe an 8. Is she a New York or an LA 8, or is she like an Iowa 8?
She is a 7.5. That is
Brother.
probably the right.
What's a 9 in your
I'm
book? Do
gonna-
they levitate?
I listen. I like attractive women, and she is not. She's an 8.5.
Wow.
I mean 7.5. She is.
Bad-
She's pretty, but she's not.
Bad Kitty Mama says, bro, she's definitely higher than an 8. People are getting into the debate now. Somebody says she's a 7.2356435765439888.
Guys, join the conversation on Twitter.
Yeah,
I'd love to
I
know.
have.
Oh my
I listen. I have extremely high standards when it comes to like when you're talking about like the upper echelons because it is a bell curve.
It is a bell curve.
There are not the like 10s are extremely
They don't exist.
rare. Extreme. Yeah, they probably don't exist. But like, I mean, it might like 9.9 might be. It might be like light speed. You never actually get to 10. You know, like you can only go like to 9.9. That
They're
might be-
AI.
Yeah.
So people keep pointing out Pancake Butt because she had like a butt double on the set of Captain Marvel, from what I remember.
she actually?
Maybe that was fake news,
Yeah.
but I
I
remember
have no
somebody saying
idea.
she had like a butt double.
Look at her body. She does not lift any weights.
No, but like
she
I
does
don't know if this
Pilates.
is
Yoga body.
True.
She has like a fitness channel on YouTube.
Yeah, and she's not. No.
Well, maybe like
I am going to channel Mary for a second and bring the conversation back to the cross because this is something that bugs me about celebrities.
Cross cleavage?
Well, it's not the cleavage. It's the fact that she's wearing a cross and her opinions are deeply unchristian.
Ah, I see.
And I don't know. Like I feel like there's an aspect of blasphemy or something there that just bugs me about wearing a symbol that you clearly don't believe in so that you'll be able to court the more moderate people who are Christian and who do want their kids to see Christian characters and stuff like that. But the stuff she talks about, the things she believes, are deeply antithetical to Christianity on many accounts.
By the way, guys, when I say butt double, I'm kidding. Like she had, like her stunt double just had a much nicer,
much
like,
more
there was
full body.
and I just remember being like, we're at the peak of journalism when I saw somebody posted them side by side and was like, look at her.
Why do
Another
so many
thing-
people in the chat have opinions on her feet?
Well, that's because
Chad.
it's the internet. Like, listen, she's not like. Don't get it twisted as if we're saying that like she is an unattractive person. 7.5 is still top tier.
What's
Like,
a 9? I need to
That's
know.
not even true. Like,
Well, I just need to know.
I've been
statistics.
I've been arguing with
Yeah.
people about my movie ratings lately because I kept saying a 7 is an average. Because when I think of like when I think
No,
of like when I
five
think
is
of
average.
when I think of this, I think of like okay, so like a 6 and 7 would be a C, an 8 and 9 would be a B, and 10 would be an A because 10s are rare and A plus and A movies are rare. I'm not giving them plus or minus grades. So I'm just using a different grading system.
But
than
on a
other people.
scale of 1 to 10, why make 7 average? Why not just do a scale of 1 to 7?
What? Because
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
But
right now.
if 7 is going to be your average, then you've already skewed the scale in one
I
direction.
don't even. But the thing is, like, if it's bad enough that it's below a 5, I just call it bad. Like, I'm not gonna get. I'm not. I've never.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever given something a 4. Like
So your scale 5 is the minimum that you would consider.
everything below that just.
And
Like
okay,
I didn't
okay.
give. I
All
didn't
right,
give
this
any
makes more
number.
sense.
5 in America is overweight.
Oof.
The average American is overweight. So a 5 in America is overweight. That is
Kino Cor-
average.
She's an American 9.
The Kino corner says 5 is a C. Well,
Wait. I need consensus. She's an American 9.
She's an
An
American.
American?
She's an American.
9.
8.
American 8?
Like I said, she's pretty, but she's very plain looking.
I must know what's a 9.
I don't know because I don't know actresses' names and stuff like that. I don't pay much
Interesting.
attention to it. I'd have to find somebody to be like, okay, she is or whatever.
Interesting.
Okay. Well, that was the cringe of the day. So thank you, Dane, for bringing that up.
For the record, Brett was the cringe of the day.
Well, I mean, or maybe it's a backhanded insult because she's definitely not cute of the day, which is the next segment. We're
Based on what's on screen right now,
All right, we're doing cute of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So if you guys have an adorable pet you would like to submit to be shown on this show, hashtag PCC Pets.
Definitely
on
don't show
Twitter,
in the comments.
And at
oh boy.
Pop Culture Crisis Pod at the Twitter for the show, and also at me on it. That way it gets to us faster. So here we go. This is from. First we got a $20 super chat here from. It's Canadian currency, right? CA.
Someone do the conversion. I don't know.
Dave Gazzuli says there's a famous meme of the rear view of Tom Holland. Yes, I've seen this. There's a famous meme of the rear view of Tom Holland versus Brie Larson with the caption, "This is why life is unfair. Maybe not a pancake, but however, the batter hasn't risen enough for poor Brie."
Tom Holland got
Now
the thick.
I gotta look it up.
The thick.
He thick. All right, guys. Overly Methodical on Twitter submitted this adorable pooch. It says, at Brett Dasovic and at popculture_show. It says, just like the mythology of Greece, our Zeus never knew his father, but his mom was one of those fancy South African giant dogs. Even though his tail forgets to tell his face to be happy, he is still able to bring a smile to everyone else.
Oh, look at that good boy.
That's a good boy.
Oh, look at him.
Look at him.
With Tim's beanie on.
He kind of looks like what was that movie John Cena was in where he plays the drug dealer? The guy got coke, crack, meth, acid.
Oh, I know what you're talking
He lists
about.
all the drugs.
Yeah.
It's like.
He looks like he thinks Civil War's coming.
Yes, he does. Well, actually, I thought he was supposed to be French with the thing around his neck. It's supposed to be French, or is he supposed to
Maybe.
not tip him? No
Maybe.
tipping. And then one more with a Carhartt jacket. That is adorable.
Adorable.
All right, let's do one or two more. This is from Devin Selmond on Twitter. He says, at Brett Dasovic, meet Popeye. Popeye is winking at you. All right.
I appreciate Popeye.
Thank you. Popeye's a good. Looks like he's making a face. All right, and this is from Chops on Twitter. He says Thanos is the black one, and the younger brother Havoc are both bull terriers. That's adorable.
Oh,
It's adorable.
they're so cute.
They are
miss
all
my
very
dog.
adorable. Guys, submit all your pets to hashtag PCC Pets at popculture
I'm gonna do it
show.
tomorrow.
Do it.
I'm
Do it.
gonna
Submit it
upload
to-
Archie.
All right,
gonna
guys.
win.
Let's get started because I want to talk about something very specific. So a couple months ago, there were some rumors going around, and this is circulated several times over, that Mel Gibson is going to make a groundbreaking 4-part documentary covering the topic of people that are not adult trafficking, as well as covering its relations to Ukraine and also Jeffrey Epstein. Those are all things that they keep saying are going to be featured in this documentary. Personally, I think that, like they've said before, I don't think that this is going to happen. I think it's a pipe dream. But what I find most interesting is that every couple of months, this rumor recirculates, which means there is a strong thirst from the general public to see somebody who has some type of power, some type of influence, some type of connection to these industries actually make a documentary like this that would open the that would kind of like open the door to show us what is going on with all of these people that we know exist. There's a lady in jail right now with clients that never got arrested.
Yeah.
This is a thing. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is a very real thing that somebody like Mel Gibson, if he wanted to, if he was so inclined, could spend the money to produce if he so desired.
And he's already pissed off enough people and gone over the line so much that it's not like people are going to be like, oh, now we really need to get Mel Gibson. Like, if those
they hate him anyways.
Yeah, if those recorded voicemails of his drunk ass going
I
off.
have to give up my Laker tickets.
Like, if that doesn't do him in and he can still manage to show his face, I don't think anything's going to do him in.
Did you see that David Hasselhoff eating a burger drunk? Oh,
There it is.
Yay!
It's Ian. Gotcha. Sorry. Feel free to keep donating if you want to scare Dane. We like scaring Dane.
I can't laugh. I can't laugh because the same thing happened to me in March. I was terrified.
it's been a year, and it's never gotten better.
And I'm also with that Danzatastic. Selma Hayek may be married to an absolutely awful person, but she's smoking hot.
Selma Hayek? She is beautiful.
Jack Garcia for $20 says Archie Supremacy.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
That
Archie
is
Supremacy.
Archie Supremacy. Absolutely.
So,
Sorry, I was.
Look, like the funny thing about Mel Gibson is, like, did you ever see that Robert Downey Jr. at like multiple award shows has like come to his defense and said, like, look, we've been mad at this guy for long. Like, you guys have been mad at this guy for long enough. Maybe he deserves some grace. You know, maybe he deserves your forgiveness. It's not like he's.
It's been almost 20 years since the cell phone incident, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but I mean, does he feel the same?
That's the question. Yeah.
That's kind of the important part.
I like to give people the benefit of the doubt and think that people can change and can learn to,
I mean, look,
Oprah
I
still-
might be treading on thin ice here, but like,
Go on.
if Mel Gibson has bad opinions, how much does that really affect your life?
Yeah. It doesn't affect anything.
I don't care that many people have bad opinions. I'm not in a huge rush to go out and support Mel Gibson's most recent thing. He still needs to give me a real reason to go out and
Make
pay
a good
attention.
product.
Yeah,
Make something I want to
But
see.
otherwise,
yeah.
he's got bad opinions. I know that there are plenty of people in Hollywood that have awful opinions that I hate their opinions. And if I don't know about it, it's fine. If I hear about it, it's kind of like, well, okay, but it's not really going to have a huge effect on my life. Yeah.
I'm very much a separate the art from the artist kind of person. I feel like there are some situations where something is big enough for me, like Kanye West, but I try to.
Even then, I love Kanye's music. I don't care. Oh, we got $20 super chat.
Well, Kanye West is clearly mentally ill.
We got a $20 super chat from Deus Vault. Says, Aiden, why do you dox people to Antifa? I saw you talking about it on Twitter.
I've never doxed somebody to Antifa.
That's
Well, $20 says you have.
What I was talking about was a specific instance in college where a group of neo-Nazis were on campus harassing not only me and a couple of my associates, but
That's
also
literally-
like a whole bunch of our friends too. And it got to the point where they were doing stuff that was actually harmful to people. So
You already justified it.
Yeah, I know.
They were harassing you.
yeah, they were harassing.
That's it. That's all.
And also, to be clear, dox in this occasion does not mean that we leaked their emails and home addresses and phone numbers. We just posted a picture that had their names on it. And we didn't go into where they work. It was like, these 12 people are on campus. They keep doing this stuff. Now you know. And the thing was, they were like legitimately dangerous people. Yeah. I would not. But also, like, Antifa. Are you kidding me? I loved bothering Antifa in college. It was one of my favorite pastimes.
They bring up the fact here that the trafficking industry is a $34 billion industry.
How can they put a price on
I
it
know,
and not
right?
put people in jail?
Yeah.
Like, how is it you can actually figure out a value, but you can't figure out whose ass needs to be in prison?
Also, guys, the movie Sound of Freedom is coming out on July 2nd, I believe. I'm going to be back in Minnesota, and I have to look for tickets for it. It stars Jim Caviezel, who, oddly enough, played Jesus in Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ. And that movie is about, I believe, in a Homeland Security agent who tackles a human, like he goes to save somebody from a human trafficking ring. And it's a movie that's been stuck in production hell because of financing and distribution because of the material. I'm going to tell you this. Hollywood doesn't like it when you do those types of stories. They do not like every show that does it. If they do some type of human trafficking or child trafficking story of any sort, it's one episode and they never seem to touch it again. One show that actually did a really interesting one was The Blacklist. If I remember, in season 2, did an episode where the human traffickers are actually part of like a human trafficking charity that raises money to like for human trafficking awareness. And they actually are part of the group. They're actually the ones trafficking the kids. And like, and they, whenever they seem to cover these topics, they never seem to go full, like when after 9/11, there was like 15 years of just nothing but Islamic stories in the police shows, in the military shows, all that stuff. But they never seem to be willing to go after the human traffickers with the same fervor they did with that, or nowadays the same fervor they go against the specter of white supremacy, which they see everywhere.
I do really quickly just want to respond to one thing I saw in chat, which was like, I've been to these guys' houses. They had Nazi flags. I wasn't using neo-Nazi lightly, and I don't. But that is a great point about the white supremacy thing becoming a boogeyman. Yep. It's like we have foregone the creation of interesting bad guys and instead decided that as a culture we need to attack one specific thing and forgotten that movies aren't about changing culture every single time. There's a legitimate place for a protest movie.
Barely ever, as far as I'm concerned. Once in a blue moon.
Yeah, but you can make a movie where the bad guy is bad for the sole reason that he wants to blow up a dam that's going to destroy a small village in Norway. I don't need it to be a story about racism. You can have bad characters who are just evil and not connect it to whatever your project of the day is. And I think that that will make the movies that do make a statement, that make a point. I mentioned Devotion, I think, yesterday. Yep. That will make those movies all the more powerful because you don't immediately think, oh God, here's another lecture. Yeah. You think, all right, well, this movie has a point to make and I'm interested in hearing it.
I think about GoldenEye, when you find out that Alec Trevelyan's parents were Leonce Cossacks, and the character who had every right to be mad with Britain, but in the end, it's not that he's upset about. He's mad because he feels betrayed, because James Bond was his friend and left him to die in a facility, right? Like that he blows up. So there's more human motivations there. Nowadays, the motives are rarely human and rarely believable. It's always some type of caricature of what they assume a villain is like. Mm-hmm. It never seems to actually work in the way that they actually. But then you'd have to have like more contact with actual humans. Also, somebody in the chat pointed out, or at least not over Zoom meetings, that Sound of Freedom is July 4th, not July 2nd. So I do want to see this. And yes, 006 was a fantastic villain. Like, can you guys remember any stories where Hollywood deeply covered? I mean, in the Taken movies covered human trafficking, but those were Russians or like vaguely Eastern European.
I kind of feel like they were Armenians.
Yeah, it's always vaguely Eastern European, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of movies about trafficking that I've seen in recent years, but I can't really think of
it. That come out on a regular basis. I can't really think of it.
No.
Like off the top of my head.
It's such a weird and hard topic to cover.
In that human trafficking and Taken, it was a young girl, but it wasn't a child. It was a college age.
And let's be real. Maggie Grace is the oldest teenager in the history of the world in those movies. She's like 30. There's two things that are
she's college age though.
She's 16 in the first one.
Is it supposed to be she's 16 in the first one?
In the second, I believe she's a teenager in the first. Oh, they're saying maybe Albanians. Also, yes, the transporter. But okay, so here's the two things that are unbelievable in the first Taken movie: Maggie Grace playing a teenager, or any teenager in the 2010s going on tour to follow U2. To go as a U2 groupie. That's just, I'm not buying it. Not of a teenager in 2010. Just not believable.
But I will say, one movie that did cover Not in this case, it wasn't trafficking, but it was connected to a trafficking issue. Wind River. It came out, I want to say 2017.
Yes.
It's Jeremy Renner and Elizabeth Olsen.
Yep.
Just insanely well done movie. Pacing's great. Tells a good story, and again, like Devotion, handles topics of race relations really, really well in a way that's believable and understandable and doesn't make you feel like you're being lectured.
Also, Kino Corner says Riders of Justice was a Danish film from a couple years ago, covered trafficking in Ukraine. So maybe Mel Gibson can get into contact with that guy and talk about it. But I really do believe the fact that this story keeps coming back up, even though there's not really evidence that it's actually going to happen, means that that as a culture, we want it. We want to see these people exposed.
Well, okay, so, I mean, first of all, I think that it implies that this is actually happening.
Yes.
So,
and remember, he's talking documentary, not movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of implications, and if I understand correctly, there is a lot of circumstantial evidence, and there are some firsthand accounts that these kind of things happen. The Harvey Weinstein stuff came out, and that was something that people kind of knew but didn't discuss until it actually all kind of just spilled out. And I would hope that if that is the case, if there is actually, real substance to these types of accusations in these stories, I would hope that there would be the same kind of motivation to expose these people as there was with Me Too. Yeah. And it is a little concerning that there's not, that people like Corey Haim talk about it, and he talks about it all the time, and yet it's not discussed openly, and I've heard more than
too many powerful people.
Yeah,
Harvey Weinstein was one powerful person.
Yeah.
This is like when we watched that video of JP Sears, who's like, it's hard to believe that 1 million powerful people would just pay to have some guy bumped off.
I think that I think that there is actual leverage that people like Epstein had over powerful people. And a lot of times, I think the leverage tends to be inappropriate behavior with children or underage people. Because how do you get leverage over somebody that's a billionaire or got hundreds of millions of dollars? Like what are you going to do? Threaten them with money? They're just going to be like, all right, I'll pay you off. But if it's something that can actually put them in jail and really destroy their reputation, and nothing destroys reputation like abusing children,
Yeah.
Well, and somebody in the chat even mentioned, they said, what was protecting Harvey Weinstein for so long? And it's like, the fact that it wasn't just Harvey Weinstein. Yeah. It's all, maybe not all, but a large number of these major studio heads.
Well, we're going to get into that more. I want to talk a little bit that more when we get to the James Woods topic. But also somebody says the sky in New York is orange right now.
Yeah, New York is currently in Mexico. It's an American version of a Mexico in a movie. That's what I mean.
Anytime it cuts to a scene in Mexico where it's just blood orange.
All the scenes of Mexico City that they needed to go to Mexico to shoot, just go to New York right now.
So what's happening in New York?
Canada's on fire.
Canada's on fire, and so the wind
importing smoke from Canada.
I think there's a big forest fire in Quebec right now.
I see God loves metaphors.
All right.
What I see here is God punishing the French.
Amen, brother.
Let's go to super chats. With that being said, let's go to super chat, shall we?
All right, I'll pull them up. Okay, we already got that first one that's in here, but we have from
Halls and the
Kid super chat for Dane's hair. They are proud of your hair.
Looking good, buddy.
We've got one from Fear Me. It's Brie that says, as a kid in the 70s, my dad got dared to pour George the Animal Steele's body hair to see if it was real. He snuck ringside and did it. It was real.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Have you ever seen those videos where some people just hop the fence and go into the ring and the wrestlers just beat the crap out of them?
That's bad.
It feels like a callback to another time when lawsuits weren't a thing.
Yeah.
Where they just get in the ring. There's a famous way. I think it's Triple H just picks this dude's up and just drops him on his head because he tries to get at Steve Austin.
The litigiousness of our society is probably the root cause of a significant amount of our social ills.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was a video that was trending on Twitter, and it was talking about the reason why every movie is so basically repetitive is because pretty much every single ethnic group has a defense league. Yeah. And so if you convey any of them negatively, you'll get a lawsuit. So I hope you guys are ready for 1,000 more years of white guy bad.
This is why it's annoying that you treat groups as a monolith and don't understand that people are just people, and that when somebody does something bad, it doesn't necessarily mean that's indicative of a larger group. It's just that that person is a bad person with their own story that's worth telling. You don't always have to extrapolate it outward to some greater meaning or cause. It doesn't necessarily mean that.
Yeah. All right, we've got Rhaegar Targaryen said Peppermint with Jennifer Garner better than the mother.
Oh, yes. By about 10 million, gazillion, 10 trillion %. Also, Jennifer Garner is still a good-looking lady. To be fair, Jennifer Lopez is still a beautiful woman.
Yes,
but she's just.
All the adrenochrome.
I don't want a lady who just looks that angry all the time. Like
no, it's not a look. She's mad.
She's like every time. Like imagine she's like every day Ben Affleck wakes up and just a pit in his stomach just falls. And he's
Can you
like,
imagine?
oh, what's she mad about now?
Yeah, right.
Like Ryan Long just did a bit where it's like him being the Ben Affleck smoking meme. Where he's like, life is pain. And it's just him pretending to be Ben Affleck.
I can't look at that smoking meme and be like, oh, he looks miserable, because I'm just like, I want to smoke a cigarette so bad. Like, it looks like he's really enjoying that cigarette, because I know what it's like when you take that drag and you're like,
until I get evidence
so
to the
good.
contrary, J-Lo is the Antichrist.
There you go.
Oh.
Have you ever seen the thing with her with Thanos's he's got all the Infinity Stones except for it's all wedding rings.
Oh god.
Dude. She's got the Infinity Gauntlet, but it's wedding rings.
So I'm Puerto Rican, as you guys know. So naturally, any news about her, I cannot escape. Try as I might.
That and Bad Bunny.
You can't
I hate them both so much.
You can't just whip out "I'm Puerto Rican" here as if I was gonna know that.
That's fine.
Like,
it's part of the lore.
like I'm Puerto Rican. I'm looking at you like I would have never guessed, man.
you can't tell
Now
by the
you know.
accent.
So if you're Puerto Rican, does your computer come with like a J-Lo tracker on it?
Basically.
That it's like it's like the Bad Bunny tracker and the J-Lo tracker.
Do you know AOC's abuelita?
Yes.
Oh!
Great
I thought it
friends.
was what is it? Abuelita?
Abuelita.
Abuela's the
Abuela.
mom, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, abuela is grandmother. Ita is like, you're saying like little grandmother.
I believe the term she used was abuelita.
Yeah. It's common. But what I was trying to say is, so the poor sap before shitty Batman, he like there was a newspaper article that's I don't know what you're doing. There was a newspaper article that was why she insists on getting engagement ring that's over $1 million or $2 million.
Why? Because Ben Affleck was a great Batman? That seems like a great...
No, she's like, they need to show commitment. You know, I'm a singer, independent woman, blah, blah. Anyway, they got divorced a month later.
Of course.
$1 million for a wedding ring is nuts.
Engagement ring.
If you give an engagement ring like on a regular day, like if it's not a birthday or a Christmas gift, you can, if I understand correctly, you can legally get it back.
Interesting.
You can, 'cause for that kind of money too, it's like 30, 50, $100,000, $1 million, whatever. Don't give your fiance an engagement ring on their birthday as a birthday present or on Christmas as a gift. It is an engagement ring, not a gift. And that will that'll make a whole big difference.
Oh man, I'm writing this down. We need to make a YouTube short out of that.
Can you text me that?
Yeah.
It is not a gift. It is an engagement ring. If it's an engagement ring, you can get it back, or at least get the value back. If it is a gift, you are out of luck.
We got fantastic news here, all sorts of things to keep your life
News, life advice. It's
perfect. Let's do one more, and then we'll move on.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, I already told him this, but I'll pay to say it again. Brett was looking real good on Monday's IRL.
Thirst.
He also needs to reincorporate those lighter colored shirts here on PCC.
Thirst.
Let's go. They are thirsty for Brett.
There's a reason why I don't do that is because black goes with everything, and the hats change color. I don't want.
If I wear colors,
so do white and gray.
If I wear colors, people in chat are complaining about like, oh, you've got a Nike shirt on, you got a this, you got a North Face.
Somebody yesterday was like North Face.
Yeah, like you're not allowed. Like I'm not allowed to wear.
Oh, because
You gotta sit in the
North Face
nondescript one.
had the video lately.
I gotta say,
but the thing is, it's like I bought these shirts and these clothes before this stuff happened.
I'm anti-boycott.
I'm not throwing my clothes
Girl
away
cock?
because the chat has problems.
Yeah, I think boycott is misogynistic at best. I'm a girl cotter.
I gotta say, Brett's really thriving in Pride.
Yeah.
Yes.
From what we can tell.
Thank you for that, buddy. It's,
You can tell based on the fact that he's wearing not a single piece of rainbow gear.
straight to jail. All right, let's move on, guys. Let's go. J.K. Rowling is back in the news. Speaking of litigious people, so there is a charity called Oxfam that released a cartoon that portrayed a J.K. Rowling-esque looking character that's very, very haggard. It is a very unflattering image with the word TERF on there. And then after people complained, they took it down, which as far as I'm concerned is all but evidence that that's exactly what they meant for it to be, right? Like if they had just left it, they could have claimed it had been anyone. But it says, to celebrate Pride Month, Oxfam released a short cartoon on its Twitter account describing the hardships of LGBTQ people around the world and how they are preyed on by hate groups online and offline. I'm just picturing like roving mobs of people on Reddit, I guess, or 4chan. It says one of the villains of the short film. I love that I love that they're villains. They're not people with opposing views. They're not people who disagree with you. They're villains. This is what we're talking about earlier about one-dimensional characters and the inability to understand other people's arguments.
It's so ugly and gross.
So it says the film produced by the Bangalore-based Falana Films is a red-haired woman who has a pin attached to her blouse reading TERF, the acronym which of course stands for Trans Exclusionary Radical Feminist. Here's an image of it, ladies and gentlemen. I will put it on screen here shortly. So there it is. And what do you think? Do you think that they took it down because see what it is? If you guys remember, I think back in February, somebody called her an alt-right Yahtzee. Right? And she said, my lawyers are going to be talking to your lawyers, and that guy sent the apology real quick. Because if anybody has the money to just bury you in lawyers, it's the lady who has made a property so important to people that even the people that hate her use it even though they hate her.
When you have billions or $1 billion, you can just burn money on lawyers making someone's life hell. And if I were J.K. Rowling, I would absolutely do that.
Absolutely.
I'd love to have fucking money.
$20 super chat here from Rico Cantrell says, boys.
Amen.
Can we get a weigh-in on the Punisher? He's like the Batman, but for men.
I didn't know Batman wasn't for men.
I love, I just recently rewatched, in fact, this is going to be my pitch for this again. Go watch Punisher Warzone with Ray Stevenson, if for no other reason than it's just a mega R-rated movie. It's a hard R, as they say. It's the Punisher with a hard R. It's really, really good. It's super violent. The gore is fantastic. And I do mean there's actual gore. It was just such a long time ago, and I was always... When Punisher Warzone came out, I was almost always in an altered state. So I didn't remember all of the violence. Like, he just shoots this dude and his head comes off, and I'm like, I don't remember that at all. It's totally worth it. It's either on Peacock or on Paramount Plus, but do go watch it. And I love the Punisher. I love that version of the character, but I am also very much a fan of the John Bernthal one, though I don't have any interest in seeing him on Disney Plus. I'll stick to Daredevil and, of course, to when he had his own series, though it wasn't as good as his appearance on season 2 of Daredevil.
I've never seen anything related to the Punisher.
Oh, okay. How do you guys feel about the fact that they very clearly, I think somebody said recently, and somebody in the chat who's more tuned in on this can correct me if I'm wrong, but they turned the Punisher into a cuck in a recent comic because Marvel really hates they don't hate the Punisher, they hate the people who love the Punisher. Because it's
absolutely.
They hate the people that love the
Marvel. It seems like the comic book companies that make comic books do not like their fans anymore. They've been trying
their fans are middle-aged white men.
Yeah, they've been trying to run those fans out and attract new fans, and I don't think they're doing the attract new fans thing. I'm not sure. I could be wrong.
You want to talk about self-inserts? That's where the self-inserts are in the comic books right now. I'm not Starfire.
Well, also, I think that a lot of people don't understand that just because you change your branding to appeal to a different demographic doesn't mean that demographic's going to decide that they suddenly like you.
Seriously.
Those people weren't reading comics before, not because they disagreed with the way the characters were presented, but because they weren't interested in reading a comic book. They're not going to start reading comic books just because you went, I'm making a comic book that appeals to your ideologies.
$20 is
Yep, we got a $20 super chat here from Derp State Surveillance. A wonderful bird is the pelican. His beak can hold more than his belly can. He keeps he keeps in his beak enough food for a week, but damned if I know how the hell he can.
That's a rhyme.
Yes, he's been known to do that. Thank you, Derp State.
I
wonder if I'm starting to wonder if Derp State surveillance is actually Tad Bromwell. Maybe.
Perhaps.
Who's that?
Perhaps. Tad Bromwell is our FBI agent, the guy who watches the house. I named him a long time ago.
We love him.
I imagined a world where this guy who's been assigned to like be the surveillance guy who like illegally surveils Timcast, and he starts to look at it like a reality TV show where like he's got popcorn, he's watching Cast Castle, he's rooting for he's rooting for specific people. Like he's like, oh man, he got the shaft this week, and like now he's like he really likes Tim, like but he does. So he's like kind of playing cover for Tim with the FBI.
So he's a hero. He's a good guy. He's on our side.
He's on our side.
Mary's his sidekick.
Yes.
Mary's his side.
Mary's a Fed.
Well, you know, she's on vacation. Where is she on vacation? Quantico? I have no idea. That's is France another word for Quantico? I don't know. So yeah, like okay, back to J.K. Rowling's thoughts. Do you guys feel like this is the thing where they're tempting fate with somebody with that much money?
I hope so.
Is this
probably.
a suable offense though?
I don't know. Like I think the idea is that it doesn't matter if it's suable. She could just do it and have it get thrown out of court.
It doesn't matter at all. Like the process is the punishment.
Yeah.
So if she's got that kind of money, or well, she does. She has the kind of money where she could just go ahead and do whatever she wants. She could continue to file like lawsuits
Bogus suits.
over and over and over, and they could all get thrown out. But the person that she's accusing of slandering her or whatever it is, they have to go and defend themselves every time. So every time she could possibly go through, hire someone to go through someone's entire history, find every time they've talked badly about her and be like, this person I'm suing, this person I'm suing. And if it costs her $10 million, she doesn't notice because she's got that much money.
Yeah.
She's
this
like,
is why I stay home.
I'm right with you, and as far as I'm concerned, like it is the funniest thing in the world to watch somebody who, if you want a lesson in social conformity, she is your cautionary tale that if you step out of line on anything, and I do mean anything, you become an enemy to the group, meaning that she has a hell of a lot more in common with the people that hate her now than the people that seem to like her. Let's face it.
Yep.
Like, and we're being a little bit hyperbolic here because I do believe that the average person much like doesn't know or doesn't care. Just like we were talking about, like people that are going to go see The Flash don't know or care who Ezra Miller is. They're not paying attention. The average person who loves Harry Potter and goes and takes their kid to Universal to go to what's it called?
Harry Potter.
Wizarding World is like they don't care. Like they don't know or nor do they care.
And with Harry Potter, like as a concept, I think that so much attention is being paid to the author that it's now starting to hurt properties that have nothing to do with her views.
Yeah.
And it's very strange to me watching a video game get made that she didn't have any royalties for. Yeah. That she basically made nothing from aside from whatever initial payment they gave her. And the game went out of its way on a few occasions to kind of be like, hey, we're not associated with her views and all that. And yet when I have asked people, why is J.K. Rowling transphobic? Like there's so much hate here. Nobody has given me a cogent answer. I still don't know what she did.
It's because they never link to the tweets because the tweets are so benign it doesn't matter. We got a $20 super chat here from Rhaegar Targaryen. Says, look up Mel Gibson apologizes for his drunken anti-Semitic tirade and brace yourself for how the journalist, quote with quotation marks, still tried to get him in the interview. He apologized. We are either for cancel culture or we are against it.
Yeah, there's always got to be a path to redemption when you cancel somebody.
One of the saddest.
No, there doesn't.
Say it again.
Based.
No, there doesn't. Like there, I mean, we can say that there.
I think there should be. Is what I'm saying. Yeah,
but there doesn't, and the people that are most likely to cancel someone don't have one.
Yeah.
There is no redemption because the left looks at all this stuff and treats this stuff like a religion, and in the leftist kind of religious aspect, they don't have a path to redemption. There is no Christ figure or priest that you can confess your sins to that can absolve you. Once you've actually committed the sin of whatever they're accusing you of, there is no way out. That's why, like, when it comes to like the cis white males are treated. There is no redemption for a cis white male except for joining the LGBT group and no longer being cis white male. Like if you become some type of polyamorous or something that could give you the protection of the LGBT group, then that's the only way out of it. And it's totally a religion.
That'll be my move. I'm gonna be like, sorry, honey, but I need to get out of this bind. So we're getting 3 more girlfriends.
All you gotta
People
do.
said that about
You're poly, right?
People said that about Jonathan Majors when everything that was coming out about Jonathan Majors with his arrest. They're like, why is this happening? But Ezra Miller's just left alone. Somebody's like, he better come out as non-binary real quick because why is he being allowed? Why is he not facing the same repercussions that? Why isn't he getting the same treatment that Ezra Miller was given? Because he doesn't have the shield of virtue that they applied to it, and the same thing it would apply to J.K. Rowling, oddly enough, because she refuses to apologize because she knows it won't matter. She understands that all of the apologies in the world will never be seen as a sign of honest attempt at ameliorating hurt from someone. It will only be seen as one thing, and that's weakness. It will never be seen as something that's actually beneficial because they don't see it in that terms. They see it as a push for power and control over people that they believe can help them achieve their social ends. And she is a powerful figure that if they were able to coerce her onto their side would be hugely beneficial for them. And oddly enough was for a long time because she is a devout feminist.
100%. It does help them if she's on their side. But if she doesn't bend the knee, and they can manage to harm her legacy, harm her reputation, then they win as well. And the way that when the left tries to infiltrate any kind of establishment or any kind of fandom or whatever, either they assimilate it like the Borg, or they destroy it, and either is okay with them. Because if it's destroyed, then it's not harming their argument. And what?
Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, exactly.
When the trailers came out and they said evil cannot create.
It's true. It is true. And the left doesn't. The left's whole deal is to deconstruct things. So if your entire philosophy is built on trying to find the good in something by taking away all of the bad things, because that's what deconstruction is. You pick apart at all the bad things that you see. But when you pull the bad things away, it tends to destroy things. Mm-hmm. It doesn't leave things in place. It's not like the world has got a good seed inside of everything, and you just have to pick apart all the bad things. That's not the way the structure of reality is, but that's the way the left behaves. They don't create anything. They can only destroy.
And I think that will continue because they, like we were talking about earlier, they're the ones who infiltrate these companies and they're the ones who take over these properties. And they don't, first of all, they don't love them. They don't love them the way that the actual fans do because they don't see them as art. They see them as a means to achieve some type of socio-political end, which is depressing in and of itself.
It doesn't matter if they see it as art because the way that they look at art is to destroy art. That's all postmodern art is. When you are a postmodern art critic and someone presents a urinal and they say, "Oh, this is art," and the whole point of it is to say, "I can't do real art, so I'm going to imply that real art is not of value. So this is a urinal, and what do you do with a urinal? You piss on it. Yeah. So art is something you piss on."
Well, a ton of it's also just money laundering.
Well, yeah, I mean that's a side thing. That's not the actual artists that are creating the art, right? Like, so if your idea of art is like, a nun taking a dump, the point that you're making is. The point that you're making is you want to defile the things that are good. Again, it is the focus on destroying and tearing down things. And a lot of times the people that are creating the postmodern art and the art where you have to find the good in it yourself, or it's for you to interpret, those people can't actually create art. Abstract and modern art, like postmodern art, it's all just in the eye of the beholder. It's like, how do you see this as art? And most of the time it's cynical, it's ugly.
It's always cynical.
It's ugly, it's deconstructing, and it's not creating anything of value.
This is one of the most common arguments that I have with Shane. because he argues that not only is art not dead, this is a great period for art. And to which I respond that I don't care if a lesbian with a banjo made a good song on SoundCloud. What I'm talking about as art is, that piece where we all as a culture are seeing and reflecting upon it. We don't have that anymore.
Well, I don't know if that's ever going to happen anymore because of how decentralized everything is now with the internet. Like, you're going to go to where you're going to go to get your like I said. If you made a tweet recently where you said like I'm genuinely terrified by where Brett finds himself on the internet based on the memes I send you. Mm-hmm. Like
I am.
We all live in different worlds based on where we get our information, and so where you see your art says a lot more about you maybe, or what the algorithm has shown you in your art says more about you than maybe about art itself.
Yeah, and I hate to be that guy, but I feel like the last bit of art, sorry to interrupt, the last bit of art that we had was something along the lines of Breaking Bad, where it was a compelling show with seemingly C-list to B-list actors at the time. They all had chemistry. The story was interesting, compelling. It did seem, a little bit long, and it went a little slow at times, but then the payback was incredible.
I think that there's also a tendency to observe the past through the lens of our present state, and for people to look at things and go, oh, well, and I'm going to kind of take a middle ground here, I guess, between where you and Shane are, and say that art's not dead, but art's so heavily commodified and accessible that what is actually special, what stands out from the rest of the artistic world, is so much harder to find than it used to be. Art used to be a high society thing where stuff went in a museum and everybody who could afford to went, and they all stood there and they discussed the art and all of that. Now you go on, Instagram, you can find a 100 different versions of the same drawing of an Overwatch character, and they're probably all going to be really technically good, but what's special about them? And I think that what we're missing is the
reflection,
the uniqueness of art, and the limited accessibility of genuinely good art has devalued art as a whole, because now there's nothing to look forward to. You hop on the internet, you can find a drawing that's photorealistic, and you're like, okay, well, I guess the artist is still incredibly talented. It's just that their art has become so common that it's not as valuable anymore.
I think what we're missing is the impact that it can create, and that I have an opinion, and all three of you can have a different opinion, and they're all valid because it has layers and it has depth, and it allows itself to be interpreted in many ways. But we live in a world where, like, going back to our previous conversation, is that everything is an expression of modernity, and modernity sucks.
And they don't want you to interpret it your own way. They want to tell you how to interpret it because they're scared that you're going to come to the wrong conclusion because they're elitist. I also want to go back to what Phil was saying. The number one thing that I judge a lot of media on, and this may not be fair to the art itself, is sincerity. Or in a lot of ways, like when I watch a movie like The Mother, there's no joy in it. There's no joy in the filmmaking. The best I could have said is there's some visually stunning shots of Alaska, but there's not joy in that. Yeah. And a lot of characters that are done these days, there's no joy in these characters. They're written as cynical. Yeah. They're written as dark. They're written as brooding. Like, and it's like they forget. Like in a lot of when they reference that, they reference like Nolan making dark and gritty Batman. I'm like, yeah, but the point of that movie at the end is that even the bad guys choose humanity over killing the other group of people.
Yeah,
like
which would have happened.
It's that hope shines through.
There's hope shines through. Yeah. That's not dark and gritty. If anything, that's beautifully hopeful.
Yeah.
So just because the tone of the movie is one thing, it's like there's no nuance to it. And I grade and judge a lot of the movies and television I see. It's like, is that a character that I feel has something in it that I want to see, which is a little bit of joy, a little bit of humanity. And I see almost none of that in the stuff that's put out these days. Very little of it. So I don't know what that has to do with, or even if you want to tie this back into J.K. Rowling, there was a lot of darkness in those books that get drawn back in there. Also, I'm a fan of her. She has a TV show called CB Strike about a character named Cormoran Strike. It's a detective novel that she writes under a pen name of Robert Galbraith. And in that show, the character of Robert Galbraith is portrayed as a more stoic detective character, but he has his assistant, the lady who works with him, and she's joyful. There's a lot of she's grown as a character, but there's an inherent warmth to that character that isn't necessarily relevant to the story, but contrasts very well with his character. That even pulling off something like that these days feels impossible in the climate we live in, because you'd have to just make both of them dark and depressing and gritty. And I find that to be an extremely frustrating indictment on just how cynical Hollywood is. And we're going to be getting that into the next one, because I want to talk about whether Hollywood is evil. So why don't we do some super chats for a minute?
Yeah, I'll pull them up. All right. We have from Porco Rosso Forever. Aiden, as the Lore Lodge guy, do you like scary movies? Any recommendations? This goes for anyone too. I just feel like a good scary movie. My go-to for horror movies, if I want to watch something I know is going to be good, I'm a big fan of the Conjuring series as just a whole saga. Insidious, those are both pretty mainstream answers. One of the most recent ones to genuinely frighten me, and I'm a person who spends all of his time researching frightening things. Smile scared the hell out of me. Yeah. There were numerous, because it gets into you in such a deep psychological way.
The marketing was so good.
It was very good. The people just at baseball games, just smiling, super eerie, gets into the whole uncanny valley effect thing. And then aside from that, not necessarily a scary movie so much, but The Lost Boys, the vampire movie from the late 80s. Just a really good, it's not quite a horror film, but it is about vampires. Really solid one. Solid monster flick.
Phil, any horror movie recommendations?
No, not off the top of my head.
I can say Antlers, not worth watching.
Okay. Dane?
I hate horror.
Okay. All right, let's go. What do we have next? We have Shane H. Wilder.
Who says, what? You're saying I'm not Bruce Banner? Cues Lonely Man theme as I walk down the road.
Hey, man, it is always sad when you realize that you're not going to be that person.
Yeah, you're not that guy, pal. You're not that guy. We got the one from Dave's Volt who was asking me why I dox people to Antifa. It was the entire campus, not just Antifa. I was not a fan of Antifa. I got banned from one of their book clubs because I bothered them too much. From Corey Anderson, we have...
If you're not getting death threats from Antifa...
Oh, I did.
Question your... Okay, good.
I did on a number of occasions. Also got death threats from a neo-Nazi group, so... I was doing it right, I think.
How inclusive.
Yeah, right? Corey Anderson said, Brie Larson doesn't fellatiate, probably. I should have read that one before I started speaking.
Oh,
that's my bad.
She's like, not tonight, honey.
You don't know that?
She's like, she looks like a woman who gets a headache conveniently at like that time every night. Like, she's got a migraine, maybe tomorrow.
Oh
man.
Boy. That Dexy guy says, how many PBRs have I consumed before rating?
That's a very good question, that Dexy guy. How many PBRs have you consumed?
1.5.
Here's the listen, I'm just gonna come out and say it. I think Brie Larson is attractive. Like I would 100%
Would. Totally would.
Like,
Also in the chat,
Brie Larson?
VR.
Nobody said they wouldn't.
okay,
Brad
cool.
did. Brad did. Brad did.
I never.
Check the tapes.
No.
Check the
There are
tapes.
no tapes.
They're out there. You're
There are
basically
no-
a
we
Antifa
are
right now.
live on YouTube. There is literally a tape.
There is no tape of me saying I wouldn't.
There's several tapes.
There is no such thing.
I never said I wouldn't.
She seems like she's a nice lady.
VRC Hongo in the chat, or is it VR Chongo, says, is Nefarious any good? Yes, it is. You should go watch Nefarious if you can find it.
Yeah, I would also consider Midsummer to be a horror movie.
Yes. One more, and then we will move on.
Let's see.
To Evil Hollywood.
We have Plaz said Aiden fist fought a Nazi Mattis. Also, there's a Passion of the Christ 2 in production about Jesus' descent into hell after the crucifixion.
Yep.
Based.
Really?
Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
I call it, of course it's Passion of the Christ 2 Electric Boogaloo, but I don't
Yes.
think that's the actual name for the movie. But it would be cool if Jesus goes down there in like a Hawaiian shirt. Like that'd be cool. Yeah. All right, guys, let us move on, shall we? Let's talk about evil. That's isn't that a cheery?
I like this
Isn't
one.
that a cheery topic? So James Woods came out recently because there was somebody on Twitter asked him. They said, "Look, I respect you as an actor. Like, how evil do you think Hollywood actually is?" He goes, "However evil," it says, "multiply your worst fears by 100." So he's basically saying that Hollywood is as
pretty
evil
evil.
as you can imagine, and then worse.
I mean, I'm going to take what might be an unpopular stance here and say that there is no such thing as a positive, as in it is. God, how do I put this? There is no such thing, in my opinion, as just evil. Evil, in my opinion, is the absence of good. Okay. I think that we all sort of are born with an innate sense of right and wrong, and that as we age, as we mature, we can be trained to ignore that sense of right and wrong. But I do believe that there is an objective morality to the universe, and that we are all born with an awareness of it as humans. But society, culture, events, trauma, things like that can lead you astray from it. And therefore, what you have is somebody who is purely evil is somebody who is in no way good. Yeah. I think that you can be varying amounts of good, but to be evil is to lack goodness, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Do you think that then what Hollywood does in a lot of respects is they take people who may just be average people and teach them to ignore?
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
I think that's the thing is because look at so many of these people who, go into Hollywood and they're America's darling or something like that. They come from a small town.
That happens in college too.
Yeah,
they
exactly.
go to college and they come out looking absolutely miserable.
You have somebody who goes somewhere, they leave home, they're surrounded by other people with another way of life. It's an entirely different culture in Hollywood, just like it's an entirely different culture when you go to college. So to me, what you're seeing is it's not necessarily that somebody is born and they're more bad than they are good.
Yeah.
It's that just as darkness is the absence of light, evil is the absence of good, and you can train somebody to prefer the darkness. It's not necessarily that they were born to appreciate it. It's that you have made them uncomfortable with the light.
And then they come to accept it as the new normal for them, right?
Yeah, and they don't even realize that they're doing the wrong thing.
It's like when a lot of people will talk about, I believe it was Michelle Trachtenberg would talk about, I could be misremembering. I don't want to quote that just in case I'm wrong about that one. Basically saying like, look, I assumed that your boss yelled at you all the time. Like a lot of young actors who are just, we don't live in a world where kids go to work for adults at a young age, right? Like Hollywood is a unique example where children then go and spend full work days with adults who are in high pressure situations because they're put in charge of these massive projects that cost lots of money. So they feel extremely obliged to turn this thing into something profitable, something to work. So they're on edge. Everyone else is on edge. You're doing something creative in general, which when you mix multiple people into creative endeavors, people butt heads automatically. And then you wonder where people start to just realize that people can be awful to one another, and it becomes part of their everyday process, and they don't realize that isn't necessarily always the norm, right?
Yep.
And then that gets on top of the fact that you have self-serving producers, you have self-serving directors, you have the history of Hollywood with things like casting couches and all the evil that comes from an industry that has taught you to ignore what is moral, ignore what is right, for the sake of modernity, for the sake of this is what our current culture accepts. And they've pushed it slowly. I thought it was really interesting what we were talking about yesterday about how like God has just recently almost been stripped from modern movies and television in any context other than some caricature of a villain of some either like mega church priest who's a snake oil salesman, and that's the best, most charitable interpretation you're going to get these days, which is that he's just a charlatan. The worst case scenario, as we know, is going to be the examples of other things that have happened in the past in the church, which then they portray as the norm, and that's everything, and that's they never show you a charitable interpretation. And it's always that way now. So,
and I think there's a certain irony to it. One of the things I did not like The Rings of Power. I'm going to come out and say that. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion. It was garbage for a number of reasons. We talked about it the other day.
I didn't like it so much I wouldn't watch it.
The only reason I watched it all the way through was so that I could criticize it properly. I didn't want to be one of those people who's like, I only watched the first episode, but I hate it. Like,
no,
I did exactly what people that see advertisements and don't like what they see do. I didn't watch it.
I was I need to know why this is bad, because it's my job to talk about folklore, and as far as I'm concerned, The Lord of the Rings is folklore, but it doesn't get the very premise of the story Tolkien was trying to tell. Yeah. It doesn't understand evil. It presents a purely evil figure. It doesn't understand the concept of free will, because Tolkien was working off of a Catholic background. He understands the concept of free will. He understands the creation and how you can fall. It's all kind of an indirect allegory.
There is value in pointing out, like I heard Jordan Peterson pointed out, there is nothing harmless about, or there's nothing good about a harmless person.
Yeah.
Good requires the agency to not be good, which is a very religious concept in that, like, humans have free will. God gave free will, so that way you could choose to be good, because you can't be good unless you're making the choice to be good. Otherwise, if you don't have agency, if you're not allowed to do something bad, if being bad isn't on the menu, you can't decide to be good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
exactly. And that's beautiful, beautiful, Phil.
The value is in the surrender.
pardon me?
The value is in the surrender.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. I think of it as, like, if you're a person that is constantly walking around and you are in no position to ever aggress against someone or ever harm anyone,
Your peace means nothing.
yeah, you can't be looked at, oh, isn't that a good person? Well, they can't be good because they never had the ability to harm you. It doesn't mean that they had pure thoughts. Doesn't mean that they wouldn't have harmed you.
That's why you
if
never
they were
trust a
given
male
the
feminist.
Amen,
yeah.
brother.
It doesn't, if they you can't say, oh, they're good unless they actually have the ability and opportunity to harm you and then make the active choice. No, I'm not going to. Particularly if you're a person that could really harm someone. If you're in a position where, like, so your family is good when your family does not hurt you. There's no one that can do more damage to you than your, like, if you're a child, than your parent. So if your parent is a good parent, that means they're doing good things for you and not smashing your face against the wall because you spilled juice on the floor or whatever. So I think there's value in that. I think that people need to internalize that and think about that. Being good is a choice, right? It's not the inability to be evil.
And I don't think it gets better, personally. I think that the only way this changes is if we get a fundamental shift away from Hollywood. Look, I'm still going to watch the movies. I'm not going to, in a lot of ways, whether it's because we do it for work here, and the fact that there are lots of old movies and television shows that I love that have fairly decent messaging in them. But even then, like, I'm not watching television and movies to be shown overt messages in most cases, right? That doesn't interest me. So I'm going to keep watching the stuff that I like. But I think if the goal here for most of the people, and I think a lot of the people who are watching this the show or operate in this sphere would say we need to come up with an alternative, then the idea is to move away from these corporations, which is, unfortunately, that evil is embedded so deeply into that world through financing, through relationships with producers.
Financing is such a
just, if you look at this, if you've ever been to an actual movie studio on these lots, the amount of infrastructure that has been built around this industry, it really is, if you believe that Hollywood is now evil, or that they're portraying evil messaging, there is an insane amount of money, infrastructure, and human work that's been put into evil.
I do think, however, that the human drive to create is more powerful than that. And I think that just because we have established an industry that has itself become extraordinarily corrupt and, I mean, frankly, demonic in many cases, but just because we've created that does not mean that that is the end, that we have to just accept that Hollywood is Hollywood and there's nothing we can do because we don't have the money. I think that people underestimate the extent to which people who want to create something will go to whatever lengths possible to make sure it happens. One good example of this is Wendigoon is making a movie called Stalker Shadow of the Zone. He completely crowdfunded it, 100%. And you know what? Yeah, it took the fact that he had 2 million subscribers and friends who had lots of subscribers. But by just saying, we want to do this, and having a concrete plan and going and putting it out there, he was able to crowdsource it. And I think that that's the key here, is we need to do a good job of giving people the material, saying, this is what I want to make, please help me. Instead of saying, this is what I want to make, I'm going to go pitch it to some producer's desk. If you can't get that done, go to your fans, go to your followers, ask your friends, communicate, use your network, use your community, instead of hoping that somebody else with a lot of power is going to do the right thing. We need to get out there and start supporting each other and supporting independent ventures instead of just saying, well, you know what, it's just going to fail anyway. Like, as a community, it's going to come to us to put our money where our mouth is and say, if we're sick of Hollywood, let's fund someone else. And I think Daily Wire is doing a great job. I think Timcast is doing a great job. And then you've got a whole bunch of YouTubers and YouTube channels who are getting together to help.
Doesn't Daily Wire and PragerU all have like content for kids now too?
I think so. Yeah.
Daily Wire is working on it. If they haven't released it yet, I don't know. I'm not sure, but they are definitely working on it.
That is a big one right there, because even more in danger of being influenced than us as adults is the kids who are going to have to turn to that type of entertainment. Who are being put onto that type of entertainment very young, because whether it's the internet, whether it's Disney and the movies that they make, and people have objections with the themes in a lot of Disney movies these days. Yeah. It's a scary world we live in, where now the evil, as you call it, or as we call it, has built themselves into such an important part of our culture that it's becoming difficult to extricate yourself from it. And that's not a pleasant situation to be in, but in a lot of ways, like yesterday I said that it felt like it happened over time, and you're saying, no, this is a fairly recent phenomenon.
We want to think that it's been like the past 40 years has been it's really the past 10. Yeah. Like we have been.
See, actually, what I think is, I think Hollywood has been very, very immoral for a very long time, but I don't think that they were. To me, what it is, I feel like they've become distinctly anti-American in a lot of contexts in the last couple of years.
The people there were immoral.
Yeah.
The people they were trying to sell to had a moral compass.
Yeah.
So they had to make movies that presented morality, that fit with the beliefs and the wants of the consumer.
But they don't
and where they are now is they can make enough money now by appealing to the base nature and that debauchery, that hedonism. They can make the money by appealing to that, so they no longer need to pretend that they have any morality whatsoever. Hollywood can be itself now. The monster can finally take off the mask.
Oh, well, also ESG financing.
Yeah.
The fact that how much it makes at the box office doesn't matter when you're doing stakeholder capitalism versus.
The financing thing I think is a really big deal, because I think that it seems from what I can gather reading, articles and stuff like that, it seems like there are a lot of companies that really kind of went along with the ESG stuff because they felt like they had to, and there wasn't a significant pushback. So once the boycott on Target and Bud Light started to really get popular support among the right, that gave a lot of companies that were dubious about ESG and those requirements. It gave them a reason to protest, and there are companies that are moving away from that now. I don't think there are enough, and I'm hoping to see more companies follow suit and not double down. But I do think that if you can get enough companies to move away from that, from the ESG stuff, from the Black Rocks, the Vanguards, the funding of these kind of things, I think that would be a very, very good thing for the country more broadly, because I do think the goal is to make the United States a less liberal place, and if possible to put an end to liberalism altogether. That's why you see people on the left calling ideas and people that were traditionally thought of as Democrats, left in the American context. You see leftists calling liberals right-wing extremists for being what would be considered a liberal person 15 years ago.
Well, and interestingly enough, I believe Vanguard's backed off of the ESG thing because it's not profitable. It doesn't make money, and Vanguard's entire purpose for existence is saving people, is preserving people's wealth and growing their wealth.
You know that the argument that they had been making, the argument that they make is this short term, you might have the ESG contraction,
people,
but in the long term, we're going to offer you loans, we're going to offer you funding at a better rate. So in the long term, you'll make money, because the argument they're making is this is profitable, this will be profitable, and we're going to make sure that it is profitable.
Sounds like a threat.
100%, absolutely, absolutely.
Vanguard's a super interesting one, a super interesting case too. I suggest everybody who knows of Vanguard but doesn't know the story there. Really interesting story just to understand the growth of the finance market and how companies like BlackRock and Vanguard got started. Always important to understand that backstory before you look into what they're doing right now, because there's some very interesting stuff in there. and I'm not saying this to defend Vanguard in any way. I'm just saying, like, there's some very interesting stories back there regarding what Vanguard is and why that's important to the current situation.
All right, chat. What say you? Is Hollywood evil? I'd be interested to know. Let's go to super chats there.
Sure, pull them up. What do we have? Okay, all right.
This next story is really interesting.
I forgot where we were. Hang on. Okay, I think the last one was the Pelican, right?
Yes.
Okay, then what we've got from X is Polly isn't accepted under the Pride umbrella.
Well, thank goodness.
Polly's not accepted under the Pride.
That seems rather arbitrary.
No, because that's just what dudes will do. They'll be like, well, my girl has sex with girls, and every once in a while I get to watch, so we're Polly. And so now I'm not a
So it's a cope.
It's totally a cope.
Makes
But
sense.
there's a lot of people that have made the argument that the reason the LGBT lobby pushes so hard and has been so successful is because it offers a way out of being a bad personality type, of having a bad identity, and it mirrors or is reflective of what went on in China with the Cultural Revolution there. You had 5 black personalities and 5 red personalities. The black personalities were bad, and it could be your parents had money, you weren't, you were not the right kind of person or whatever. And then you had the red personalities, which meant that you were a communist or you were a member of the Red Guard or whatever. And if you wanted to get into the good graces and have a politically correct identity, you could do things like turn your capitalist parents in or inform on people or whatever, help the communists. And that kind of dynamic is what we have going on here between the LGBT lobby, the people that consider themselves LGBT and offer a way in. All you have to do is say that you're non-binary. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to be some dramatic thing. Most of your life can stay the same. You just have to say, I'm non-binary.
You say I'm bi, that way they can never prove you wrong.
Exactly.
That's that happens in comics every year. Like during Pride Month, somebody comes out who has very clearly always been straight, and then
Demi Lovato.
Yeah.
And like I said, and that offers you a way out of being the bad personality. And so that's a very, very appealing to normal, white, boring, average kids that don't have the rainbow sparkles all over them, and they're just like, well, I'm just a normal person. To kids, to young people, having something that separates you or makes you a part of the special group is incredibly alluring, because you're already feeling like you don't fit in and blah, blah, blah. So if there's some way that you can get that kind of acceptance, especially when it's low effort and low cost of being like, oh, I'm bi and I kissed a guy once, like it's real low effort. But if you just have the right politics and say the right things, you can get the absolution for being, the absolution from the LGBT lobby of being a cis white.
You get their indulgences. No, what's it called when the Catholic Church
indulgences?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you were right.
All right, from Johnny Beck, he gives us a thumbs up. Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you, Johnny. We have one also from, we've got one from James Orenthal Wen that says, the nuns recently took a dump at an LA Dodgers game.
I saw that. Well, I didn't see the dump part, but I saw the nuns. What's the group's name?
the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Right now, there's people.
What does it have to do with baseball?
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
It has to do, but it has to do with promoting the LGBT religion. And right now, you look at the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. That is clearly mockery of a religion.
Yeah.
It is clearly meant to intimidate and to mock and belittle, and that is a terrible offense. But when parents go to a school board meeting like they did yesterday in California and say, hey, we don't want our kids learning this ideology, then the people that are the LGBT community turns it around as if like there's some kind of massive attack on the LGBT community. Well, maybe if you weren't mocking every Christian and crapping on everybody that doesn't line up with your perspective, maybe you wouldn't have that kind of backlash.
Yeah, and I mean, I think a lot of people might not have totally understood how offensive these guys are, because most of the media outlets were like, they're just drag queens who dress up as nuns. No, they have a drag Jesus on the cross. Yeah. And here's the fact of the matter. I did not care about drag at all for the first 24 and a half years of my life. And then I turned, in the last year or so, I'm 25 and a half now. But in the last year or so, it's been kind of shoved to the forefront. And the fact of the matter is, I still do not care if if a guy wants to dress up like a woman and go strut around a stage at a bar. That does not bother me. I really don't care. It's not my kind of thing. I'm not going to go see it. But I don't care if they want to do that. It's not affecting me. What bugs me is when it's done in an inappropriate context in front of children, because, I mean, you can say drag's not inherently sexual all you want, but let's go and look at the actual videos that are on the internet. These semi-nude drag performances are causing an entire group of people who literally a year ago did not care. I don't think I heard anybody talk about drag until the past year. Nobody cared. And then suddenly it became a big thing because a group of people decided to turn it into the next big social cause. And it's negatively affecting the actual LGBT community who just want to be accepted, that all of these other people can't stop antagonizing the people who they see as their oppressors. The fact of the matter is, your average Christian probably doesn't care if you dress up in drag on the weekends and go dance at a club. But they do care when another drag queen gets up on stage and dresses like Jesus and pantomimes being crucified and all of that. So I think that they're missing where the line is. Yeah. Because I think for the most part, if you had just said a year ago, you know what? Yeah, child drag shows, probably a bad idea. I don't think this ever would have become an issue. Yep. Because most people would look at it and go, well, we were fine with Mrs. Doubtfire, and we were fine with all of these other drag performances that went on in comedy and all of that. It was really when the kids started getting involved. And I remember becoming aware of Desmond is Amazing a few years ago and being like, that makes me uncomfortable. But it was this one singular incident, this one weird anomaly. And now you're seeing people defend it. And I think that there's a legitimate danger there. And I wholeheartedly think that the vast, vast majority of gay, bisexual, trans people, all of those people just want to live their lives and just be happy like the rest of us. But this one small group keeps ruining it for them.
It's the political arm. I'm not saying this is as a pejorative. It's the queers, because they consider themselves queer. It's the politically motivated, and that's all it is. It's not about normal people that just want to live their lives. It's about politically motivated people that want to reconstruct society. And every time humans try to remake society, it ends with millions dead.
Let's move on. Let's do one more, and then let's move on. We got one more topic today. Aiden, let's do one more.
I'm sorry, I was getting over to the... we've got, where is it? Shane H. Wilder said, art's not dead, but it's on life support.
You know, I don't know. There is a lot of subjective interpretation of art, and I have friends that do a lot of that make a career doing art. I have one friend who just this year he is now able to make a living with his artwork, and to him, art is not dead. To him, his art is as alive as it's ever been. But what we're talking most of the time is about corporate structured art, which is a vastly different thing from the individual, from the little guy making art. Something, in fact, that picture back there, that is a picture that a friend of mine did. He makes a living doing art, and to him, that's beautiful. But we're talking about a massive structure of things that is it's hardly art in the current sense.
Well, look around any major U.S. city that was built, really any major U.S. city. Yep. You're going to see that in certain places there is architecture that you will not see made after 1980, anywhere. That they cared about making these things beautiful. And we have become so obsessed with, all right, what's the most cost-efficient way to do this, that we have forgotten that we can have art in our daily lives. Art does not need to be a few shapes painted onto a canvas hanging in a corporate lobby. Yeah. The corporate lobby should be the art. Yeah. That's where the art should be. Great example of this, City Hall in Philadelphia, the Masonic Temple that is across the street from City Hall in Philadelphia, both beautiful structures. Both of them built, I think, over 100 years ago at this point. We have lost our thirst for beauty in our daily lives, and now we're trying to replace it with this corporate manufactured crap, and it's never going to be enough for us. Yep. Our souls are dying for something more beautiful.
All right. With that being said, let's move on. Let's talk about Twitch real quick, guys. Aiden, why don't you tell us what's going on with Twitch? Because yesterday you were tweeting about this.
Yeah, so Twitch brought out some brand new guidelines for branded content. And there's a bunch of Twitch streamers who are making the argument that maybe Twitch is trying to kill itself because Amazon doesn't want it anymore.
Forever.
Yeah, But the way it used to be was that if you were a streamer and you made a deal with an outside company, you could take the money from it. It didn't matter. Twitch didn't get any revenue. Technically, it was against Twitch's policies to do certain things, but usually that was on the streamer and whoever was watching, because Twitch, unlike YouTube, unlike a lot of streaming services, does not give the creator the majority of the ad revenue. YouTube splits it 70-30, which is not ideal, but it's manageable. Twitch subscription revenue is 50-50. Somebody subscribes to me, it costs $5 to sub for a month. I get half that money. Not 70%, not 90%. Patreon, we have a Patreon right now.
Wasn't it 3-2?
What was that?
Wasn't it 3-2?
Something like that. I think with Twitch subscriptions, I don't know what it is for partner. I'm affiliate. Twitch subscriptions, $5 for the average one, you get half. Twitch ads, they get 2/3.
Wow.
Even though it's my audience that's suffering through the ad, and it's I'm the one who's affected by this.
And
in the
they
moment.
increase the frequency of it, which is killing the views.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing. Is Twitch did offer a new opportunity. You can do more ads. More of each hour of your stream can be ads, and you'll get more revenue share. But here's something I found out. I was scheduling for a maximum of 1.5 minutes of ads every hour, and people were getting 3 to 5 minutes of ads every hour.
Yeah.
Twitch tells the creator you're going to have control, and then they don't give you control. And then what you want to do with that is you're like, I don't want to ruin everybody else's experience. I want to have people be able to watch, because Twitch ads are annoying as hell. They are not like YouTube ads where it pauses the content for you.
And they're not smart at all, because a lot of times I've been watching tournaments on Twitch, and it's the grand finals, last round, last set. Subscribe to audible.com.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
Kill your audio. It's like, it makes me not want to have any ads on my Twitch streams. And at this point, I might go to the lowest possible frequency, because they won't give you partner if you're not a gaming or a creative channel. If you do like reaction, education, talk show, whatever, they won't give you partner unless you're a very attractive woman sitting there in a chair trying on clothes for people, pretending that you're, just chatting. When in reality, it's
well,
software.
that's art.
Yeah, but so what they changed is, it used to be that you could get past all of that by going out and just signing with somebody. Like on YouTube, I have a sponsor for a lot of my videos. I do a quick 1.5 minute spiel at the beginning. They're done. They pay me. YouTube doesn't get a cut. YouTube does not care that they don't get a cut, as long as I put that branded content label. With Twitch now, if you have a burned in video, so if you show in your stream as part of the stream a video that either you or somebody else created to pitch a product, if you are using a burned in logo, any sort of overlay, something like that, bots, if you do a segment where you say, here, try this water company, any of that you now can't do, which is kneecapping everybody's revenue. For me, where I'm primarily on YouTube and I stream on Twitch for a more personal, experience with my fans, sure, that's fine for me. The people who make their living on Twitch's core creator group, are going to be absolutely destroyed by this unless they change the policy, which is what they say they're going to do.
Also, so I was reading the new rules, and from a marketing perspective, there's one that's freaking laughable. That's like, yeah, you can have a logo on the screen, but it can only encompass 3% of the screen.
3%.
That is okay.
So it's literally, you have to go like this.
Yeah, I mean, on your screens right now, that probably comprises the part that says Timcast Media up at the upper right corner.
It's probably, if you look at me where it says Dane, that. And I'm not kidding. Because, I work in marketing, and every time you do a paid ad on Facebook, you have to break the screen by the rule of thirds. And if you have a logo and text, it cannot abide more than 2 of those boxes. And that in itself is deeply problematic when you're creating a paid advertisement for Facebook. 3%, I don't even know. Like, I don't even know if anyone would pay for that. You can't see it. It would be lost.
What would be the point? Right?
Yeah.
Also, I don't put I don't put ads on the stream just because I want people to be able to watch the.
Yeah.
Like, we put ads on the segments, but we don't put ads on the stream.
I put ads on the replays of the streams.
I want people to be able to watch it through. I don't even put ads on the replay of the stream. I'd like people to be able to watch it through the whole way. But we do put ads on the segments. So, like, Phil, you were on Twitch. You said you've done a whole album.
Well, I streamed on Twitch for a while, and All That Remains, we did a anniversary tour for the Fall of Ideals last year, and it was streamed on Twitch. It is not so great working with Twitch. I mean,
they hate their users.
Yeah, when they went to 50-50 is when I was like, all right, I'm not gonna,
What was it before?
70-30.
So like YouTube?
Yeah, they made it worse.
Yeah, and so when they said that, I mean, I thought about getting back on and doing some more streaming and stuff. But when they did that, I was like, nah, there's no reason to. So I think Mike, our guitar player, still streams on Twitch, but that's mostly because Mike is a boomer and couldn't get a YouTube page started for himself, and also he's already kind of got it built in with Twitch, and it's just on easy mode for him. But
Also,
the band doesn't do anything else on Twitch, and we won't. We'll be doing stuff on YouTube from now on.
People use Twitch for watch parties? Is that like
you can't.
Like,
you can't. Immediate
ban, right?
DMCA ban. Yeah. And that's the other thing about Twitch is it's so insane when it comes to that stuff. Like I had a stream muted, portions of it, because I was sharing. We were watching clips, not the entire film. Clips from Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and actively discussing them.
Dude, I would sing my own goddamn songs that I wrote, and they're just like, no, you can't. I'm like, I granted the label owns it because because that's the way labels work. But if you don't own the rights to your music, they didn't have a deal. So I would do a song, I would sing an All That Remains song, and then they would mute it on my stream. It's like,
it's mine.
Really? This is a song that I literally wrote, and you're muting it because I'm on a label? So, and they had no solution for it. So, I mean, Twitch just has a mountain of problems, and it sounds like they've done nothing to try to make them any better.
And people are going to Kick right now, right? Like a lot of people
does a better, Kick does a better split as well, if I understand.
Yeah, that's crazy to me. And it's also for Twitch, it's one of those things where it does feel like there's a lot of preferential treatment. I mean, the same thing is true of YouTube.
I will say
YouTube does give some preferential treatment to people with large enough followings.
It does, but here's the thing about that. I hit the average viewer threshold on Twitch, right? I hit it. I have 220 some thousand subscribers on YouTube. I have 1.2 million on TikTok. And Twitch is like, we just don't really see your content as marketable.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
which is weird because your content is exactly the type of thing that most people, when they talk about being a content creator, finding your niche, finding what really works for you and leaning into it is exactly what they tell you to do.
Dude, they have activists moderating that stuff as well, because I run the IRL socials, and we get hella views on Instagram. And I don't want to get into it, but the thing is, when I reach out to Meta and be like, why is it so one-sided deal where we get you all your viewers and we're not fairly compensated?
Because leftists.
Yeah, 100%. And they're like, well, a lot of factors attribute to a thing being
Leftists
marketable today. And it's like, okay, dude.
Leftists are
Oh,
liars.
well, yeah. I mean, my content where I talk about conspiracy theories and I actually largely debunk them for the most part. What I do with conspiracy theories is I strip out all the BS and give you the facts of what's actually going on. That's kind of my thing now. And Twitch, that's not okay with them. We think that's why they actually did it, is because I talked about the WEF. Because nothing else about their response made sense. But Hassan Abi can get on there and he can just wax poetic about leftism from his $3 million mansion. All he wants.
Communists are just as evil as Nazis, and they have a higher death toll. Okay, so this whole it's okay to talk about the proletariat and Marxism is okay. It's not at all. Communists should be treated exactly like Nazis. They're absolutely atrocious people.
Yep. I don't know. It's one of
Oh no, I know. I know they are.
Do you think do you think Twitch has who was it talking about? Moist Critical was Moist critical?
Critical was being critical of them. Yeah, and
I
don't have exactly what he said in front of me right now, but basically Twitch came out with this BS statement that was like, oh, we didn't really love, the wording wasn't great. We could have worded it better. It was kind of vague. And Charlie was like, no, it wasn't vague. It was extremely specific.
Yeah.
You're just stupid, basically. And that's the reaction most streamers I know had was, wait a second, first of all, you can't just roll this out and not warn us. Like, we need a grace period. Because do you think a brand deal gets made 2 hours before I stream? No, I made a deal 2 months ago to put your overlay into my stream. Now I got to go to you and say, oh, sorry, I can't do that. Here's what I am allowed to do. It's a little different. And they're going to be like, well, and trust me, having worked with these brands, oh my God.
Yeah,
they
you're
give
done.
you no wiggle room.
You're
Landlord.
done.
Also,
Like, there's a company that still hasn't paid me for an ad we did nearly a month ago. Because they were like, we need 5 days to review the material you send us. We sent them the material. They did not respond to us. They had agreed to pay us. They knew when the video was going live. We put the video up and they were like, well, you didn't let us make additions. And I'm like, we have a schedule.
Yeah.
And that's the fact of the matter is that company probably won't pay me. And for anybody who had any Twitch stuff planned out, it could be anywhere from a couple of weeks to 6 months in advance. I know people who have sponsors booked out for 18 months.
Yeah.
Twitch is gonna, if they keep this up, they are going to cause their creators to abruptly abandon ship. And the fact of the matter is we're not how we used to be. We have Discords, we have Patreons and all these things. We have mailing lists of our own. We don't need them for the platform anymore. All we need to do is convince our followers over email or Discord or whatever to follow us to whatever the next platform
That's
is.
the gold in marketing wise, the email list for sure.
Yeah.
Sorry, but we can't support Moist Critical anyways because he was critical of Mary. So we take Mary's side by default here.
Sorry, Moist.
Okay,
sorry,
in
buddy.
his defense, he was reacting to a singular clip, and he's not as involved.
I know.
I'm pretty sure if
I'm messing with him.
yeah. I
He's-
don't want to make it seem like Charlie's a bad dude. He's
a short king too. From
yeah.
what I hear.
I have
He's a short
heard
king like
from
me.
people I know who know him personally. I've heard only good things.
Yeah.
I think that was just a miss for him.
Well,
It happens. We're perfect, and everybody, like I said, path to redemption.
I mean, I've heard that happens, but I've
Yeah.
never experienced it.
Oh, you've never.
firsthand.
No, Brett's perfect. Brett is perfect.
Other than that Brie Larson thing, apparently,
There is footage of Brett being like, no, gross.
I
no.
never said
I
that
would not.
wouldn't. I never said that. Never said that.
Listen, there's someone autistic enough to check the tapes. Please do it.
It's not
Please
gonna
do it.
happen.
Check his tapes.
Check the tapes. All right, let's get. We got super chats at the end here. I would like a third crisis party. I do. I want.
That's
a third
what
crisis
Brett
party.
wants for.
That's what I want.
That's
That's
his
what
hump
I
day
want.
gift.
That's exactly.
I want a fifth one.
There you go. Well, Dane wants a fifth one.
Oh my
All right,
God.
we
Well,
got
now-
some super chats there at the end.
Okay, Jack Garcia. Hi, Jack. He did some sneakers for us. Go check him out. Jacked Up Kicks. But he said, "LOL. I hope art is not dead." I agree. I agree with the sentiment that it's on life support and it's very close to dying, and we need an effort to bring it back. Elon Musk, my guy.
Again, I
commission
argue-
a beautiful building somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, so you're talking about more than just Hollywood art.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah.
You think that most of the art is just?
I think Elon has a chance to build a new Twitter headquarters that is so beautiful, a bunch of people on the internet start claiming the Tartarians built it. That's what I want.
Go ahead. Tell us your opinion on Tartaria.
I have nothing good to say about Tartaria, but I do have a lot of bad things to say about Tartaria.
Do it.
That video will be out on Friday.
People can't wait.
Yeah, the Lore Lodge Tartaria video, Friday, 4 p.m. But yeah, Tartaria, I can get into if you want. But if you want the Cliffs Notes really quick.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I wish I had my notebook out because I have the definition in there. It's in my bag. But Tartaria is the concept, as the Tartaria truthers call it, that it's the study of lost civilizations, mud floods, antiquitech is a term that they use, the Irish connection, the Phoenician hijack, which they believe that human civilization, after the fall of Atlantis, of course, all of the survivors of Atlantis arrived in Ireland, melded with the local populations who weren't there yet. And then they had their own version of Christianity, which was overtaken by the Catholic Church, who then contracted the English to wipe out the Irish. Now, I will make the point that they often mix up the Catholic Church and the Holy Roman Empire, and the Holy Roman Empire and the Roman Empire. They have no idea how any of this works. But as you can see, just from the first 5 seconds, that was the first 30 seconds of the video I was covering. Our video on it is 2 hours long because it debunks the entire thing. That's how nuts this is.
Crazy.
But yeah, so the next one from the White Trash Panda, please have Phil yell, "We have to remain peaceful."
Phil?
We have to remain peaceful.
There we go.
There you go.
Thousand. You know who you kind of sounded like there?
Me.
Is
I sounded like
you
me.
did sound like
Sound like
you,
me.
but have you seen Andor? Have you watched Andor?
No.
One of the Skarsgårds is in it, and you sound a lot like him when you said that. 1,000-foot deep end said, this is one of two comments. Phil, don't let chat bullying you out of wearing your colored tees. Brett, there's a way around the hats clashing with t-shirts. Go hatless more often. You do have hair. You have a full thick head of hair, my guy.
I'm a hat guy. I'm a hat guy. Plus, then you like if you're gonna have your hair.
Phil does a great Phil impression
every day.
I do.
Then you have to actually get haircuts on a regular basis, and I don't always want to get haircuts on a regular basis.
The second part was, Aiden, thanks for putting inflections into my original chat that made it sound way more awkward than I intended. Here, I'll remedy it really quick. All right. I already told him this, but I'll pay to say it again. Brett was looking real good on Monday's IRL. Is that better?
I'm almost blushing.
Good. You smell kind of pretty.
Yeah.
You want to smell me?
Oh boy.
Have you not seen Johnny Bravo?
I don't need to hear anything about me in that voice. I don't need it.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Rhaegar
Find my way
Targaryen.
back. Here we go. Horror suggestion: Sinister, Ex Machina, Evil Speak, Antlers. No. Pan's Labyrinth, Annihilation, Drag Me to Hell, Burrowers, Troll Hunter, As Above, So Below. I will also throw in the entire series known as Wrong Turn because they are ridiculous. They are wonderfully ridiculous films. Peter Leo said, shout out to the four of us on the PCC Discord.
Yeah, let's. I always go every day at the end of the chat and say hello to all the. Oh, there's 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there's some people talking there. Thank you guys. Thank you. They refuse to join the chat.
The Timcast one? The chat. Okay.
They're not in the chat, and that's okay.
Corey Anderson said, Aiden, Mary would have never let my last super chat through, so thank you. Brie Larson probably just lays there.
You know, she's like I said, she's got a migraine. Not tonight, she says. Her middle name is Not Tonight.
Oh no. Brie Not Tonight.
That's yeah.
It's a family name.
Exactly. It's not the Dark Knight. It's Not Tonight.
Actually, maybe it's not a family name. DD Mega Doodoo 97.
Yep.
What a name.
Yep.
I have returned, and just to say, boys. Or would this be the French pronunciation? Would be bois, 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 bois.
Yeah, if it's BOI, it's very French.
Yeah.
Bois. Yep.
We got Last of My Kind said, Brett, did you shoot your shot at Pearl? I'm not reading that hashtag.
I however, did read the hashtag. I didn't even meet her when she was here. I didn't even know that she was here until they were down there getting started on the show. And I think I don't think we're in the same
height bracket.
Like the atmosphere is different up there.
I dated a woman that was 6 foot tall.
Woo!
And we would go out and she would wear heels.
Did you wear platforms?
Pardon me?
Platforms?
Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? There's nothing that will make you look more self-conscious than wearing big shoes
I
around.
agree with you.
Yeah,
I 100% agree with you. Don't get me wrong.
Not just that, but also like when dudes like bump up their height.
Yeah.
Like I'm 5'5" and I'm never going to say I'm 5'6". I one time like had like a doctor like when they do your height at the doctor's office like 5'6". I'm like no, you're wrong, and I'm not going to take that as an excuse to now start saying I'm 5'6".
I haven't measured myself in a long time because I kind of was like, I'm like 5'6". I'm a little worried that the age and the compacting of the spine, the compression. Yeah. Maybe I'm 5'6" in the morning and then I'm under 5'6".
That's a real thing, though.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
your spine compresses throughout the day.
Like,
so that's possible.
Yeah,
I mean, so I understand what you're saying, but I don't want to misrepresent my height either.
If you're short, just own it. It's like there's like it got misconstrued one time where I said the saddest thing that I could think of is the guys who get the leg lengthening surgery.
Yeah,
because I'm like just own it, dude. Like you're like the thing that I thought was the saddest when they said like some guy's like 5'5" and he gets this extremely painful procedure, so that he can be 5'9". I'm like all that so you can be the height of the average American male. Like I almost find it less objectable if you're like 5'9" and you really want to be over 6 feet. feet. You're like, I need to be. I got all these girls are saying 6 feet, 6 figures, 6 inches. Damn it, I'm 5'11".
Have you ever done the delusion calculator thing?
Yes, yeah.
I just
Delusion.
If you want an ego boost as a man, go do the delusion calculator thing and just put yourself in.
Yep.
Oh my God, it will make you feel so good about yourself. But no, you're right though, because like my co-host, one of my best friends, he's 5'6" and he's just super confident with women, and he has a very attractive, very intelligent girlfriend. Like he never once talks about his height. It's
it's just a weird
the only
thing
the only people that ever talk about my height is like people that are looking to put me down.
Exactly.
And then I mean honestly, I just bring up gold records and and they just shut
that's
up.
the fun part when you're in our position is you can kind of be like, interesting opinion you have. Now let me open my wallet.
I got the it never bothered me because I started skating when I was 12 years old, and skating is one of the sports where being short is actually objectively a good thing because a low center of gravity is helpful. Also, I would point out, I was like, well, then you're just tall and lanky and ugly. Like it's I'm not. I wouldn't actually say that back, but like most of the time, it's just like it's such a low IQ insult, anyways. Just own it. If you're short, you're short. That's fine.
It is what it is, Rhaegar Targaryen said, "Clip rant and name it. Aiden destroys Twitch."
Well, with facts and logic. Like, imagine for a second.
I didn't do it right. All right, listen up, gang. What we got to do is we got to destroy Twitch. We gotta drive them. They're woke. They're a woke platform.
Imagine for a second,
brother. That is the worst Ben Shapiro impression I've heard. I'm sorry
My
to
Trump
say that.
impression is better. My Trump impression is better. To be fair,
let me hear it.
All right, I'll read the next one. This is from Nathan Koss. Can you guys do a segment on pedogram tomorrow?
Who's
pedogram? They're horrible. They are posting pictures of the children. But yeah, they are. What
is that?
What
is
pedogram?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is the new scandal. I didn't read too much into it, but apparently Instagram allowed a pedophile ring to propagate through their algorithm. Failed in the worst possible way. It was supposed to detect and put an end to that kind of thing, and what it ended up doing was allowing people to connect.
My hope would be that Tim would cover it, because I don't know if that's really unless there's a celebrity.
Oh, I'm sure Tim's gonna cover it.
Tim will probably have it up for tonight.
Yeah, unless there's a celebrity we covered the stuff with Salma Hayek, because Salma Hayek was involved with her husband was involved with Balenciaga. There's not really a connection there for us. So the last of my kind
said, she's an athlete. Imagine being a dad to one of those D1 hockey kids. Are they talking about Pearl? I think so. I mean, it is still skating.
Is she?
I
played hockey. I played hockey before that. I was on ice skates before I could walk.
You could have an NHL kid.
Yeah, there you go.
You could be doing it.
And you got to be tall. You got to be a little bit taller. One of the hardest things for me was
it'll average out.
When you're short and you're in hockey and you're young, you're fast and you're faster than the other kids. But as those kids grow, their legs get longer and you just aren't able to keep up that. I played
I was sitting in a hot tub with a couple of other YouTubers in November.
That's a story.
And we were just talking and we were chatting, having a cigar and all that. And
yes,
let's go.
Good Lord.
Thank you, Ian, for this crisis party. And Phil.
Yeah.
And Carter. I just love that, they didn't have a plan. They just went into the studio and
started screaming.
Ian just started scrooning various things involving the word party.
I love it. But yeah, so we're sitting there and I said something about not being sort of interested in dating women who are taller than me. And it was half an hour of just the worst slander against me that you've ever heard. I made the same terrible things about myself. Simply because I prefer to date women who are my height or shorter.
All right.
Bobcat said, Rumble is already replacing Twitch. I have considered that Rumble may be the place to go instead of YouTube if I leave Twitch.
There you go. And $20 super chat. Cowboy Tombo Slice says, I'm 5'8". We short guys are better than tall guys.
5'8" is 1 inch below average.
Yeah.
You're almost my height, dude, and I am the most average man.
He says, we short guys are better than tall guys because we're playing life on hard mode.
I have never hit my head. I don't bump my head on anything. I fit in airplane seats.
Guys,
we do not have life on hard mode.
You can hide in the cabinet.
I gotta say something as a legendary tall Giga Chad. Sometimes it's hard. My girl puts things low on the fridge and I don't see them.
No.
I don't see it.
Oh my God, it's hard. It's such a
sorry.
travesty.
That is a
every time I
lack of
go to an
effort.
amusement park, I have to make sure I'm tall enough to get on the rides. And
Yeah.
No, like you're literally making up problems. You sound like
no, I don't go to amusement parks.
I just want to know where Dutch people get the audacity to be that tall. Like we had a couple of Dutch kids in my high school class. They were like 6'6" for no reason.
There you go.
Like what were you doing? 1,000 Foot Deep End said, "When are we getting a crisis party bar we were promised that shows the dollar amount for the third crisis party?" Hashtag.
Oh, that's I keep forgetting. I do want to like a thing that actually shows like a meter that shows like how much to go.
You
yeah,
can.
I'm gonna have to make a note of that.
I know there's some in Streamlabs. I don't know about OBS.
Well, for this, yeah, I mean it would be something that would be automated into the system. I'm gonna make a note.
You guys have tech people. They're smart.
Okay.
Grofty said, "Buck."
Thank you, Grofty. I saw the same thing on IRL last night.
All right.
Or I heard it.
Corey Anderson said, "Where is Bad App?"
I have not seen Bad App in a long. I think somebody said that he immigrated to Brett Cooper.
What is Bad App?
He's the property of Brett Cooper streams now or something.
He's a former super chatter that was particularly naughty.
Brett Cooper is far more attractive than any of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the
Also-
land of Bretts, I accept not being number one.
Also,
That's
I think
fine.
like the second tallest person out of the people assembled.
Yeah,
here.
she's like 5'9".
I'm pretty sure
something like that.
she's my height or taller.
There you go.
Yeah.
She just did a thing with
Female
JP
Ben Shapiro.
She just did a thing with JP Sears and like
Yeah.
you see the actual acting training coming
Yeah.
into it. Yeah, it's really
There's
funny.
several versions of Ben Shapiro that's a smoke show as a woman.
That is true.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's. I remember first came across Brett Cooper when she was still for. I think she was working for Yale. Because I remember watching a video that came up from Young Americans for Liberty on TikTok and thinking immediately, who is this young woman who looks like Ben Shapiro and talks like Tucker Carlson?
Yeah. So somebody's like, got mad because I said she sounded Southern, and I was like, okay, she's not Southern, but she says y'all, which is a traditionally Southern.
I mean,
thing.
I'm from Pennsylvania. I'm from Philly, and I say y'all, but it's because I spent time in the Appalachians.
Appalachians.
Well,
All right.
see that I used to say Appalachia, and then Wendigoon said I sounded like a Fed.
Yep.
So I stopped. See, Jack Garcia said, oh, wait. I missed one. Disco Jensen said, can we get a running counter on Crisis Party wagers?
I don't even know what the wagers left are. Mary's is probably still standing for 6 Crisis Parties, and she will watch 5 episodes of Attack on Titan and read and review them. But I think she might argue that she has to be here for the episode that does that many Crisis Parties for that to count. I don't know what the rest of them are right now, but you feel free to make a wager. I always make good.
Yeah.
On my guys, I always make good on my wagers. So.
We did the same thing, and that's why I had Frosted Tips for 6 months, and I now have to shoot a sexy calendar in 2 weeks.
There you go.
What?
Yeah, I have to be in a sexy calendar. I know.
That's awesome.
It'll be available to purchase, hopefully.
And then there's one more
Jack
from
Gar-
Bobcat.
I don't have that one.
He says, Wendigoon pronounces Appalachia like a Fed.
Oh.
Okay.
I will trust him. He's from Tennessee. We had one from Jack Garcia that said, I'm 6 foot and I wear Rick Owens platforms.
Okay, well, look,
If it's part of the aesthetic, I mean, I know a lot of people who are into like the goth subculture kind of thing who will wear the platforms just because that's the goth thing to do.
makes perfect
Which,
sense.
I mean, if that's your thing.
You do you. That's
Yeah.
what, as I say.
Queen.
Exactly, buddy. All right, guys, before we go, I'm looking at that like counter. Would you hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already? Share the video with your friends. Thank you very much for that. Dane, my friend, where can they find you?
Well, everyone, if you want to help me with my ongoing battle with irrelevancy, please follow me on Twitter at DaneFont. And now I shall spell that out for you. DaneFont.
Perfect, my friend. Phil, where can they find you?
I am Phil That Remains on Twitter. I am Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains, available on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora if you're nasty, YouTube, you know.
It's
if you're nasty.
I remember because I always mention Pandora when I'm giving the podcast outro, and they're like, people still use Pandora. I'm like, apparently.
I don't know, but I don't want the people that used Pandora to think that I have forgotten about it. Just that I'm judging them.
Well, we do have one viewer who watches this podcast on their Nintendo
On the Wii.
On their Nintendo
On the Wii?
Yeah, dude.
It's still a thing.
I love that.
Yeah. It's amazing. All right, guys. Aiden, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. I'm Aiden Mattis. I am the host of The Lore Lodge right here on YouTube. You can also find me at The Aiden Mattis on just about everything, but I am most active on Twitch. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Aiden Mattis.
Perfect. Guys, if you would like to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. Thank you very much. This show is here
Brett,
Monday
the poll.
through Friday. Yes. Oh, did I put up? I forgot I put a poll.
Sorry to
up
interrupt,
today.
but the poll.
No, you're doing a fantastic job here, my friend. So I am ending the poll today. Will the Mel Gibson trafficking documentary actually happen? Your options were yes, Mel can do it. Nope, the elites won't allow it. Or C, the doc is fake news. The answer is 62% have faith. They say yes, Mel Gibson can do it.
I believe in Mel Gibson.
So in Gibson we trust. I don't even want to say
Gibson we
that.
trust, man.
There you go. Guys, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. This podcast is also available to listen if you'd like to rather do that rather than watch. It's on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. We have one more super chat here from the last of my kind. It says, girl, Brett said she wanted like 5 kids, shoot the shot. You could be like Taylor Lautner. You know Taylor Lautner married a woman named Taylor, so now they're both Taylor Lautner.
I remember that was like almost going to happen with Taylor Swift at one point.
Yeah. He ended up marrying a Taylor, and so he's
Taylor Lautner
they're
and
Taylor
Taylor
Lautner
Lautner.
and Taylor Lautner.
I don't know. If I see somebody on a dating app that like has the name Aiden, I swipe right.
There you go. There you go. Sadly, I can't shoot my shot anymore, ladies and gentlemen. She was here yesterday.
Yeah.
It's too bad. 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are on Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisispod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys.
Bye, guys.
Later.